since I was a kid, everyone said it couldn't be done. My whole life, people have been telling me what I could do and couldn't do. I've always listened to them, believed in what they said. I don't want to do that anymore.
But I want to tell you something that they don't know. They don't know your heart. I do. I've seen it. You have shown it to me. You have shown this coaching staff, your teammates. You have shown yourselves just exactly who you are in here. From the soles of your feet, with every ounce of blood you've got in your body, lay it on the line until the final whistle blows. And if you do that, we cannot lose. How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. We can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. Every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the difference between winning and losing.
They don't know your heart.
I don't want to do that anymore.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me.
So come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, and forever.
and we are live. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This is going to be an awesome hangout. We have joining us Liz Mcgee with the prophecy for the last hour. We're going to be getting into, can we learn from the Kabbalah, the occult, mystic, oral tradition handed down from sage to sage and from prophet to prophet? What can we glean or learn from that to better ourselves? So that's going to be the outline, but introduce Jason. How you doing, brother? Nice to see you this Friday.
Yeah, it's great to be here. And always looking forward to a Friday night. Normally it's, with call-ins. We've got a special guest tonight, Liz. And it's not a first time for her. We've had Liz on before, and you've got a long-standing, you've known Liz for a long time. And, it's been through studying extra-canonical scriptures and a whole bunch of stuff that you guys have gotten to know each other. And
excuse me.
So, let's get Liz on. She said like Liz, would you say you're a Kabbalist? How would you say it?
Well, okay. Well, technically, I want to tell you something. According to the Jews, women cannot be Kabbalists. I'm just saying, right?
Okay.
But we live in a time, as Paul says, where there's neither male nor female, bond or slave. So yes, all of the knowledge is open to anyone. We all have the Ruach. I always like to say, women don't have a second class kind of level of Ruach HaKadosh, right? We all have the Holy Spirit. So yes, I study the Kabbalah.
Okay.
Study it deeply, yes.
Okay. So the point of tonight is to see what we can glean, because well, let's see, how do I put it? I don't even know how to put it.
Well,
well, it's had a lot of bad press. So
I know how to put it. I know how to put this. So here, I'm the one, I've been following Liz for, 4 years now, at least, almost about 4 years. And, your brave, outspoken ways. So I'm a believer that Yahushai, which is the Proto-Paleo Hebrew name of Joshua, you know who it is. So I believe that there is a higher level understanding to the scriptures, and I do believe that there is truth within the Kabbalah. It's being wielded against us right now, and I believe if we could get the highest truth that the Creator put in it, it's only better for us to know exactly what is being used and how it all works. So I feel, like I said, you were a brave, outspoken person. I know that there was women with Yahushai, right?
right.
And he was teaching them too. So I guess they were teaching other people what they were learning. So I'm not one that generally blocks anyone due to gender, because we're all spiritual, and in the end we have to make the spiritual jump, and that's genderless. So I guess for me, why don't you give us a really, keep in mind though, we don't believe in planets. We believe in luminaries, right? You can look at the luminaries and all the attributes that the Kabbalah teaches. We're key on a few direct words. But give us why don't you, introduce yourself and start us off.
Sure. And Ronnie, we have known each other. It's been a great journey. I'm one of those, like you, like a lot of us, who got out of the boat. I mean, I really believe within the last 7 years, 10 years, a lot of people got out of the boat and started reading the extra biblical works, right? I mean, that really is a move of the spirit. So I started really reading, and once you do that and your eyes get wide open and you're like, oh my gosh, how come this was taken from us, this whole journey? I started to read, and it's like, because I believe this is my zone. I do believe this is my calling. I don't have any problem saying that. Words would start to vibrate on the page. I would say, like, these words, there's more to this than meets the eye in a lot of these verses. And every time I would go and research or try to understand things deeper or go into the Hebrew, I always ended up on Jewish Kabbalistic sites. And I was like, what is going on here? Every time I needed the deeper answer or I needed to get more information, I always ended up there. So finally I started to explore, what is Kabbalah? Mind you, this is way back 5 years ago, before I was a little bit of a newbie. So I did not realize there was so much bad press against Kabbalah. This was sort of, I think, the father's way. I didn't realize that it was like, oh, this big taboo thing. I thought, oh my gosh, these sages, they're brilliant. Look at the stuff they can get out of the word in the Hebrew. And I was like lapping it up. It was awesome. And then I had started to get comments from people like, oh, don't you know that that's all devilish and occultic? I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Have you ever looked at it? So I kind of got educated both ways, both sides telling me their spin, so to speak. But at this point, having read the text, right, I think we all agree, you cannot take somebody's word for it. You have to be Berean. You have to actually read the text for yourself to make sure that what people are telling you they say, they really say. So that being said, the Kabbalah is all right. So what it is the deepest level of understanding. And we spoke about this earlier, and you were right, Jason, when you said this is information that goes from sage to sage, prophet to prophet, mature believer to mature believer. The information in the Kabbalah is it's nothing you're going to teach in Sunday school, because it's going to go right over most people's heads. These little kids do not need to know this, right, per se. They're still trying to learn the basics. But when you become a mature believer, this is the information that, like, say, the Essenes, when Ezra talks about the 70 books that are reserved for the wise, the information is for believers who are very mature and stable and serious. Their character is, they've gotten rid of besetting sins. These are people who can stand and can handle the deep level of the battle we're in. I say it's like the PhD, or it's for the SEALs, the crack troops. So all that being said, a lot of even Jews a lot of times do not understand even their own levels, because I work on a system of biblical exegesis called PARDS, which I know you're going to ask me a question about. But the point is, this is information that is, as the elect at the last days, this is the information that Enoch and everybody was saying, Daniel was saying, was going to come out in the last days. Because after this information comes out, there's nothing left. Satan's totally exposed. His kingdom is totally, there's too much light on it. He has no place to hide anymore. So that's why, and there is a difference between Jewish Kabbalah and, let's say, what everybody confuses it with what the Luciferians do. We know they pervert everything.
Well,
so of course they have perverted.
Well, we want to be correct when we name them. They would be the Azazelians, right? Not Lucifer is the name that was used to mock Satan, right? He said, "Oh, how you shone like the morning star, and how far you fell." So when he called him the morning star, he used the word Lucifer,
right?
But really, that's Yahushai, right? That's his. He is the bright and morning star, and the congregation of the morning, right? That's the creator.
Right. So I know I understand Lucifer in his pre-fallen state. But but back to in the concept of Kabbalah, one of the things is I also have the presupposition of the two houses of Israel, which I think, we've talked about, and many people begin to understand, Gentile Christians were really the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So when we go back to wanting to understand our scriptures, we're going back to the Old Testament, but we're also going back to the understandings and the writings of Judah, because it really was Judah, the house of Judah, the Jews, this whole line of that kept the scriptures, because technically it was just the southern kingdom at that point. By the time Yeshua came, the only people left following him were technically the southern kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a bunch of books taken away. We know that. We've been lucky to be a part of the group that has read them all online here. We've brought them all back, and we believe that's the foundation that you need to stand upon, is the Apocrypha, which you as well are well versed in. And so we also understand that what you're bringing to the table. So, okay, let's put it out there. I asked you earlier today. So there's a certain part of the oral tradition, the Talmud, which speaks of a Roman, which would be Joshua. Yahushai was a whore. His mom was a whore who slept with a Roman. I'm pretty sure this can be found in the Talmud, and they believe that he's dead and he's in hell and his excrement. So there's these things that people have interjected into the Talmud. Now, you said there's two types of Talmuds, right?
Yeah.
Could you explain that a little better?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I know, see, this is what I really don't like, if I can say, about some people who do their Bible research. They cut and paste, they pick out. Okay, so yes, I'll tell you what, there are quotes in there about Yeshua, and that's there, who, and this is one stream of very anti-Yeshua rabbis. What the Talmud is, it is every rabbi's opinion. The way the Jews work is they don't really disqualify anything. It takes an awful lot to get excommunicated, so to speak, within the Jewish mindset or theological camps. They allow a lot of diverse opinions, all right? What people don't understand is the early church was literally made up of nothing but Jews originally, all right? And they were Essenes, and they were Nazarenes, and they were Pharisees. This is pretty much proven. I mean, I'm sure some Sadducees were in there, and there were a lot of secular people. Jews, they call the Aretz Alam.
So
People
these are the ones that hid the keys, right? You scribes and Pharisees, how you've hid the keys and you self have not entered, nor will you let anyone else enter, right?
Well, that's a verse, but understood in its context. It's like today, I mean, what did they say? 40,000 different denominations of Christians? I mean, yeah, there's some really bizarre stuff in some of the denominations, right? Are you going to go in and pull out a couple verses with some really wackos and say, okay, this is what everybody thought?
I'm just bringing to the table the hard issues up front, right on the table, because that's what I'm all about.
Sure.
But there,
and I got that, but people need to put it into context. Yes, there are some rabbis who are very anti-Yeshua, but there are even more rabbis, and this is what people don't, who are pro-Yeshua and look at Jesus as Yeshua. That never seems in this camp. They never seem to go and tell that story. Many of the Kabbalists, one thing that is really, and one of the reasons why the Kabbalah got shut down in about the 16th century, even by its own people, was because too many rabbis or too many sages were studying it, and they were believing in Yeshua. When you get into the Zohar, Yeshua is like all over the place. It's like, how can you miss it?
Well, so just before we move on, I want to break that down. He said, you have hidden the keys. So at least the scribes and the Pharisees had something, right? If he had just said, you just lust after your own ways, there's not, he said, you had the keys to enter the kingdom.
They did, because see, this is the point with the oral Torah is many levels. There's nothing is that black and white. There's many levels of oral Torah. So one of the levels of oral Torah is called the Agada, but and we get into is the Sod level of understanding. There are certain ways that the prophets used words to encrypt very deep information, mature information. All right, and a lot of this was lost by the time that Yeshua came. You guys realize between Moses and off the top of my head, I think there was 800 years. I'm not quite sure, but let's say 800 years between Yeshua and between Moses and Moshe. So there was a lot of information that had gotten corrupted, that was a little miscued, and the Pharisees were not, again, this is a part of the story people understand, they were not the sons of Aaron. There had been a whole usurpation of the Davidic house of the king, the bloodline, and of the Zadokite priests. So the Pharisees were kind of a mixed bag. They did have some truth. They had a lot of understanding, but they had lost a lot in the mix, in the mix too.
So just to bring a quick scripture in with Paul, 1 Corinthians 15:47, to sort of back up what you're saying here, it says the spiritual, however, was not first, but the natural, and then the spiritual. The first man was of the dust of the earth, the second man from heaven. As was the earthly man, so also those who are of the earth, and as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are of heaven. So right here, Paul is flat out telling people that first there's an earthly interpretation, what is of the earth, and then there is of a heavenly understanding. So this to me speaks to this type of oral parallelism, higher level. Now you break it down into, do you call it an acronym, the PARDS? Do you know how to screen share, or do you have notes?
I do. Here.
Okay. Jason, did you want to comment? I just wanted to throw that down because that's one of my highest, Paul was really using that language there. It's hard to deny that.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that's come up that's sort of a trigger mechanism for me is, we're talking about the scribes and Pharisees, and these were the people that we know that the scriptures tell us about, and we just know from actual history that they were the ones that hid the names of the Creator, and they're the ones responsible for the Masoretic vowel points and all that. And, Ronnie and I have done extensive research that there was no U or oo type sounds in the ancient Paleo Hebrew and all that. So it's just the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. So I just want to ask you the question, when you say Yeshua, is there a reason why you use that? You also use Jesus, which is the Jesuit name.
Well,
how did you come to the determination for the name that you use? Because there's only one name that we can call upon, right?
Right. And you know what, Jason, part of this has to do with your research. I mean, I'm bent on the keys to the kingdom or parts. I don't like the calendar. I don't really study too much into the names. I mean, there's too much to unpack. I don't pretend to be an expert in everything.
Okay.
I know what I know, and I'm pretty rock solid on what I know. I say Jesus sometimes because the audience, you know, even Paul says to be all things to all people. I mean, I know some people, they're comfortable with that. Yeshua is a pretty middle of the road way. I mean, my information, that's not what I want to argue. You know what I'm saying?
I know. But I mean,
if we were going to do a show on that, that's fine.
So if we can use the key that the bread is like the word, you know, we're supposed to share and heal. So when we're with people and we are told to eat the bread that they serve, right? But heal them, those that are sick and those that are poor are those without the keys. So if you don't know that the name of Yahushua is the original name, we say, okay, you understand that it's Jesus, but we try to heal the sick and lift up the poor. That's what we mean by what we
and I can say Yahushua. I mean, I've seen it. It's just that, and I will, and it just.
The point I just want to make is I'm never looking for a middle of the road ever. I always want to be on the narrow, cramped road because I know the middle and the wide road lead off to destruction. So I mean, you know me, we talked about this beforehand. It's always about the truth, whatever's the truth. And that's the reason why we want to have you on here and talk about the Kabbalah is what is it from the Kabbalah that is truth that we can be sharing with others.
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of, if I can say this, and Jason, if you understand the two houses, right? I mean, the whole concept that we are Gentile Ephraimites as Christians, but we were not schooled. Like, first of all, we did not grow up learning Hebrew, I'm assuming. I mean, I didn't grow up in a yeshiva. I was not taught from childhood, you know, how to do gematria, how the letters and the numbers are the same, and how you know, the Jews have an incredible advantage over us in their mind because of a lot of these things. And I was not taught the Hebrew, and I was not taught the names, the permutations of the names, and they refer to the tree of life and the Sephiroth. So in one sense, I don't pretend to be an expert in that area. I can read Hebrew a little bit, but I'm not fluent. So I understand the name is point, but from a Jewish point of view, what they will tell you when you talk about the Masoretic and all this stuff, there's a little bit, and I think there's another level of deepness going on here. They use the name Yahweh Vavhe, which is the best we have of the
Yahweh, right? We've proven without a shadow of a doubt that they took the prefix away because it was such a ambiguous of a language that they didn't have to write the sound. So when you have the YHWH, you know that it was Yahweh, right? Because that was the language that they spoke, and we have that actually documented.
Right, I understand all that, but what I want to bring up another point. The point is the reason why they did hide the name, all right, and they did, and they'll tell you this. That's why the Jews will call Hashem. The name.
I have a feeling I know why.
Because see, there is so much power before when the temple was around, when the high priest knew how to pronounce the name, which only he knew, and it went high priest to high priest for hundreds of years. There is so much power in that name. And when they were dispersed from land, exiled, they had to protect that power basically from the Goyim. And part of the whole Kabbalah, the reason why it has been so under, you know, kind of almost lock and key, is there is so much power in this information that has been reserved for the last days, that for the elect, that they had to protect it. It is not a name that can get profaned. It is not, this whole understanding is something. So I think I understand there's two sides to everything. And I think the Jews get a bad rap because I don't think we really understand. The house of Judah, according to the Apostle Paul and according to its own, was given the oracles. It has been the job of the house of Judah to protect the writings through all of the ages. And a very small remnant of people has been managed to do this through thick and thin, through martyrdom and whatever. But that's the temple and the oracles were, and the bloodline of the king were given as a birthright to Judah. Now, we Ephraimites got a different part of the birthright blessing, but this is something people need to understand. So we don't have a right, in my opinion, to be calling them out on something that is their birthright. At this point, the best we can do is get back into the mindset of the information and the understanding and get up to speed and then have a dialogue. Does that make sense? I mean, if you're going to dialogue with a chemistry professor equal to equal, it's got to be colleague to colleague.
Well, my answer was they hid the name because so that God came here, Liz, this is what we teach, and they offered him up for death to the Romans. But here in
see you guys,
those were the ones. So when they translated it into Greek,
leadership, it'd be like, you know, in our government today, whatever, I won't go and do that analogy. It was the corrupt, usurped, Sadducees.
it was the Judases that sought the power. Yes.
That handed them over. It was not the Essenes that handed them over. It wasn't the people. It was a very corrupt cabal with Herod and the high priest, which had gone, it was a bought office. It was so corrupt. But people understand, it was not, you cannot take those group of people and plaster the whole nation with them. All right. This is not fair. That's not true history. All right. It was a cabal. It was a very corrupt group of people in power that did what they did.
But it, you know, what I say to them is, it said here in Exodus 3:15, God said to Moses, say to the Israelites, he said, I am Yahweh, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob has sent me to you. And this is my name. And this is how I am to be remembered in every generation. And when we do the research and we break down the YHWH, because we know the J and the V were invented in the mid 1500s.
Yeah, nobody argues that.
It was Yahweh, right? So I don't think necessarily everything is to be blamed on the scribes and the Pharisees. I believe the way that the prophecy had to be fulfilled, certain things had to happen. Books had to be taken away. And here's where the argument that you're bringing forth, that there were good Judeans because they did preserve the Qumran caves. Made a lot of books made it to Africa, right? The books were preserved, right?
Well,
we
I
have
don't know what you mean by Africa. I do not believe the Nag Hammadi Codices and the Dead Sea Scrolls have anything to do with each other. They're different people groups. They're totally
But
different.
the books remained. You could still find a version of the Book of Enoch up into today. Still being
you're talking
used.
about Ethiopia.
Yes, that's
the Ethiopian church. Absolutely, yes, they kept a lot of the canon, much more so than.
So there are good people that, like you're saying, the Nazarenes, and this is what's really tough because we've uncovered. So I believe, I'm going to get this out on the table before we get into the parts. I believe that we were all put under a really wicked spell by the Kabbalists. They have the highest level magic, right? They put this wicked spell on us. So what I understand is in the Zohar.
Can you document that? Where do you get that from, Ronnie?
Well, we can get into that throughout the show. I'm not taking a shot at the truth and the light that's held within it because I believe that it explains. So you could call it a realm or a simulation. But see, the levels that you come to the argument with, because you've been taught that you live on a spinning ball earth and you believe in atomism, we've all been indoctrinated into the system. So what the witchcraft and the wizardry behind that is they've implanted a false image in your mind, just like they did with the name Jesus Christ and with the image of a globe. These are things that Kabbalists that are bad, the Judas types, crept in. And they've done this, and they've had more help from all different secret societies. And Jason and I are all about just finding the truth. But I believe the Zohar does teach us about the higher level. Like if we were in a simulation, this book might even contain basically the workings of it. I think much more depth, and I'm not against that. If it's the truth, I will never not voice my witness to the truth ever. I'm sorry. I don't mean to butt in. Am I talking too much too fast, butting in on you guys? Sorry.
Well, I would just like a chance to say something at some point.
I'm sorry. It's such a heated topic. Go ahead,
Great.
Jason.
I love it. I'm fine.
Like,
It's all good. It's all
this
good.
has got to be the most heated topic right now in the world, Liz. You just don't even know it.
Really, I am in my all right. Whatever. I live in my little world, I guess.
We've got plenty of time. So let's take our time and let's go through this and chew on it and dissect it analytically without getting worked up, right? So let's bring the blood pressure back down and just look at this analytically.
This is what the Jews do. They have a good midrash. You talk about it, man. Get it out there.
So a point that I would like to make is there was a time period where I went into atheism. I had become a complete atheist, denied a creator. I came back out of that through the Eastern religions, Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism and all these. And what I did come to realize is that each of these religions, right, had a piece of truth in it. And then it was buried by a whole bunch of lies. So from Buddhism, I can say, okay, well, this right here is actually true. This is verifiably true. The rest of this stuff isn't true. And for me, being a Christian, somebody that believes in the Bible, the extra canonical scriptures, the Apocrypha, those books that are all inspired scripture. There was some that were hidden for a time period, but they're back now. For me, having that background, that foundation, I don't know if you caught it, but I put out a couple of videos recently where I came down really hard on Kabbalists, and I came down hard on my own mother for being a Kabbalist.
You're serious? I didn't know that.
Yeah. This all just happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Called her out for being a Kabbalist.
A Jewish Kabbalist or a Hermetic? There's a difference.
She's a crafty person. See, I actually think my mom's a witch.
Okay.
A witch.
All right. When you're done, we can clear all this up. Really.
So she supports the sacred geometry, the Kabbalism. She is a heliocentrist. So really, she can be labeled as a Pythagorean. So Pythagoras was the one that created the whole heliocentric Big Bang cosmology that got rid of the creator. He was a Kabbalist. The modern day people like Sir Isaac Newton, Copernicus, these were all Kabbalists. So my research has shown that the Kabbalists really, it goes back to ancient Egypt, it goes back to Mystery Babylon, that they are in general fags or trannies, or they're super perverted that way. And they believe in heliocentrism, that the earth moves. Another popular theme is veganism or vegetarianism. In fact, vegetarians were known as Pythagoras up until very, very recently. So I called out, the Pythagoreans, and he credits what his knowledge to the Kabbalah. So that's the reason why I find this topic really interesting, is because I've gone through this research that shows this all to be really the most satanic of stuff out there. But you're talking about some of the things that actually do match up with reality. So to me, it's sort of like the Buddhism thing, where it's this part right here is true, and that's what I'd really like to get from tonight, because I know you have deep knowledge of the Kabbalah.
Okay. Well, and Jason, that is excellent, because seriously, this is why. All right, because we live in a dualistic world. There are good guys and bad guys. I mean, this is so fundamental. There are sons of darkness and there's sons of light. There are people who follow Lucifer, and he has an agenda. And there are those who follow Yahweh and are full of pure light. Unfortunately, we're all mixed together, the wheat and the tares. Nothing, it might be, is really a pure, it's very, and that's our job, to sort things out. And in the millennium, everything will get sorted back out. We're supposed to be making the crooked places straight. But just to give a history, there is black magic, Kabbalistic. All right, you can take any information and you can profane it and pervert it. And that is what Satan does. And yes, on the left side, there is a strain of occultic magic that they have, and I'll give you the history, where seem to be many Kabbalistic concepts in it. But believe me, even without that, they have plenty of their own dark magic understandings from the Watcher angels that is way beyond anything even that's in Kabbalah. All right. So, but on the right side, you do have our prophets. You have Enoch, who traveled in all the different dimensions. You have Abraham, Shem, Jacob, Moshe, went up to the mount, communed in a almost face-to-face way with the Creator Father. So there are
Elijah.
2 sides to this thing, all right? And you shall know by its fruit, all right? But people have to understand, in this war of propaganda, and to me it's just a big propaganda war, each side is trying to spin it. Well, I'd say the Luciferians are trying to spin. All right, now let me give you, that being said, let me give you the history. Like Balaam, we have to understand black magic magicians have been with us in every generation. I mean, look at, in Yeshua's time, you had Simon Magus. At the time the Israelites were making their exodus out of Egypt, you had Balaam there, who was told to curse him. Black magicians have been in every generation. These are high level occultists who know how to use the forces of nature and some of the celestial, forces out there for evil, and especially on Yah's people, right? I mean, that's what we're all beginning to really, and we're beginning to understand the depth of this thing, all right? But on the flip side, you have the power of Elohim that has been transmitted through and has fallen on many of his great saints. This is the whole point. From Samson, look at his to the stories to of course, to Yeshua, to the early church, the power they wielded, to Elijah, being able, a lot of the stuff he did. When you're dealing with a power encounter against a power encounter, all right, a demonic force against a heavenly force, you're out of the realm of sitting down and let's talk with tea, let's just have tea and coffee together and work this out. You are doing power demonstrations, all right? And the people at this level.
Well, I got a question for you, because
okay.
So yeah, this is something that goes along with the Kabbalah and what Jason and I have been doing research. So if someone is brought up and they're taught that they live on a spinning ball and that rocks are rocks and earth is earth, and how do you explain supernatural things that exist within the scriptures and throughout life? So
that is where the keys come in. Because according to Hebraic understanding, and this is true, if you look in the Hebrew, there's 5 levels of soul life. There are 5 dimensions out there. The whole thing that we're interfacing. This is a very populated cosmos. All right, this is what angels are not little cherubs.
Enoch said there was the 2,000 angels to the right and 2,000 angels to the left that ran along the line.
There's 10 levels of angels. I mean, this is so established. This is when we get into parts, and maybe I should share that now. Can I take a break? Can I do that real quick?
Please.
All right, so let me just here. No, let's see. I don't know. Let me find this. All right, here. This is a chart. Okay. I work on something. Now, this is Jewish exegesis, which is like Jewish.
Remez, Darash, and Sod.
Yes. All right. And see, parts at the top. That's an acronym. So what they do is they take the first letter, the P, the R, the D, and the S, and they put vowels in it so you can pronounce it. So it comes out parts, which actually means orchard. It means garden or orchard. All right. But what it tells you is the sages and the scribes who copy our text understand that there are 4 levels minimum. I mean, look, there's endless levels to Elohim. I mean, right? But basically all of the Bible understandings can be classified into 4 levels. The first one is called Peshat, which is a literal simple level. I mean, it's for saint or sinner. Anybody who picks it up can get some basic.
Would that be the earthly?
Well, you could call it the earthly. It's the lowest level understanding. It's very simple. A child, when Yeshua rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, nobody doubts it was a donkey, and that really happened. I mean, that's right.
The
But then
parable of the sower.
right.
Maybe that's the next level.
Then you get into remez. Remez is what's called a hint that of other meanings. It's where they throw in these little words and this is what I started to see. These words were like kind of vibrating. I'm like, oh my gosh. This is what people today, Ronnie, you and Jace all are beginning to see are these remezes, which are hints to other meanings, which is how the elites and the initiated have always communicated with each other. Now, I want to say something. To me, the word initiated and the word occult are not bad words. They have been
just like the word simulation. They've been bastardized.
Saying a little because occult, all it means is
perverted.
Hidden. When you get into a remez, you're talking about it's a hint to other meanings, hidden meanings that are a little more hidden in the text. All right.
What about the
just let me say, it just means somebody who, it's like you're out of kindergarten, you're into high school now. You're a little more initiated, you got a little more knowledge, a little more understanding. All right. Then you go into the drosh level. Drosh is the moral application. This is what all the preachers and the rabbis get up on Sunday or Saturday, whatever they do, and they do their homilies. That comes from drosh. That's the halakha. That's the law. That's how we're supposed to live, But then the down here is what is called the Sod level, S-O-D. This is the sealed mystery. This is the level that the prophets and the sages communicated information across the millennium, and this is where you have to have the keys. This is why Paul said he says, look, I have figured out a mystery. I've gotten a mystery. This is what he's talking about. He got down to the Sod level of understanding of Yah's plan for the Gentiles in the next, let's say 2,000 years, the next 2 days. And it was sealed. And he got it. He unsealed it, and so he was able to begin to move into that realm, that prophecy. He was the first one to be able to move out into that, and I call it almost like the intel. We're in a war. You got to seal your best intel from the enemy cracking your codes until you're ready to move out on it. This is established Hebraic. This is something we need to understand. The reason the church is so weak and the reason we have so much, all these different crazy, is because we have been living on the Passat and the Drosh level for over 1900 years. Ever since the canon got screwed up, books were taken out, especially the 70 books for the wise, or ever since we cut ourselves off from our Jewish brothers and the understanding, because the texts were written, by them, and so we left off the remez and the Sod. Those are the keys to the kingdom, and we haven't had them. So this is the whole point. This information is coming back now, and this is what I'm all about.
So now, a better word for the elites or the initiated would be the elect.
Well, on either side, yes, and the elect. This is where, in my opinion, we need to begin to really see this, and the Sod level of understanding is where you would, and this is where. You see, I know magic is another word, but see, we have to, if you're going to think critically, Jason, you have to not let words be a trigger word, right? Now, Daniel was called the chief magician of Babylon. I mean, here's a guy, one of the greatest prophets we have, and yet the text in the Hebrew, if you look, it's calling him a magician. So what are they saying? It's just that Daniel was so initiated or into occult or hidden understanding. He knew the demonic powers that he was dealing with. When he was thrown into the lion's den, you don't think that guy knew how to call on heavenly powers? I mean, this is the point. This is when Moshe, see a lot of the stories of our great patriarchs, we have to understand these people. This is why it's so important versus the elect. When we go into this millennial change up here, and when the real battle comes out and all of Satan's hordes come out of the woodwork, right? I mean, you guys believe that, right? I mean,
Oh, they're around. They're around.
Coming out, and they're going to be in your face. And this is what it means to have oil in your lamp. If you don't know what you're dealing with, and you don't know your, so to speak, your power, if you cannot, in a power encounter, if you don't know who you are and how to stand, and that's the whole part of having the, the armor on and all this. This is not, child's play. When Peter had to take on Simon Magus, if you read that in the apocryphal works, he fasted, he prayed, he asked everybody around him, pray for me. I'm going into the arena with this master magician. It says that Simon Magus was flying through the air. He disappeared, he reappeared. I mean, come on. This is, and so when so
that was a scripture, I think that but here contention from, is that in the Zephyr?
The funny thing is that Ronnie and I have built up a level of spiritual armor and strength that we can do it like we're sitting around having tea.
Yeah, well, this is good because this is the job of the elect. We need to get up to speed. But there's a source of understanding. So like I said, when you understand the heavens, you understand the different dimensions, you understand angelic hierarchy and this thing, that's all part of it. But the bigger part that I want to say in terms of the keys is an understanding. Okay, it says that Yahweh made the heavens, Yahweh made the heavens and the earth. All right. We've got no problem, looking around by the laws and exploring the earth and the laws of nature and the force of it. But we have really been shut out. And this is what he said, the scribes were, of understanding the physical laws of the heavens. Okay. This is something that our ancient, and this is what you were asking about earlier, Jason, I think, about why there is so much there. Okay, so in the Hindu religion, let me say this last part. Abraham was a king. I mean, we don't understand. This was not some Bedouin guy in a tent. He was one of, quote unquote, the kings of the earth. He was one of the richest. He was one of the most revered. I mean, he was like a king on the earth when he lived. He was also known to be of the camp of Yahweh. I mean, in the old days, people knew.
Same with Enoch, exactly.
Yeah, and the people knew that they were of the light or the dark, much more so than we understand this today. But anyways, Abraham had concubines, see, and this is part of the story. But he sent, after Sarah had Isaac and things settled down and they really were coming into their promises, he sent the concubines away, it says, and I don't remember the verse, but it says he sent his concubines to the east with gold and silver, with gifts. Now, to break that down, according to the keys and Kabbalistically, yes, he probably gave him a lot of money and said, go, set up camp, somewhere else. But these people in the history of it, you can study, they took all the understanding that Abraham had. Now, Abraham was, again, a master. When you read the understanding of the Midrashic understanding of these people that has been kept by the Jews, he was also another king, but he had as much knowledge and understanding, like, how do you say, like Moshe would have, all right, of how things were. Anyways, a lot of this understanding, the Hindus, the Brahms that went into, we find this caste of the Brahmins, these people their religion became Hinduism. And
so what I'm going to interject
is
had
a lot of the original Hebraic understanding that Abraham had, and they built on it. But of course, they became Gentiles. And they mixed it in with the nations and the pagans. That's why there's a lot of truth in there. Pythagoras was a disciple of the Jews. This is what.
This is where I want to bring in reincarnation into the conversation. So, I've been given some other bread that I understand certain things on a different level than most humans alive now and in the past, and I see a cycle, something that's cyclic that continues to happen throughout. Because I see, if you've studied the New Age Lions, they call a timeline in dimensions a spline, and it has a beginning and an end, and you can slice it into different times. But basically, I can see certain people throughout this entire spline. We'll call it the book of life, like on a hard drive, you have a file that opens up into different files. There seems to be something with reincarnation that's been hidden, some sort of understanding who we are, where we've come from, because in the book of Thomas, it says, once you know and you've understood that you come from the light that came into being on its own accord. So we found out these higher level things. So what can you tell us about that? Maybe you can help confirm what we've understood or give us a new picture on this.
Well, no. Okay. I'll just give you, first of all, the history. And this is history, and anybody can go research. And there's some really good videos on YouTube. Not that that's, always the most scholarly place, but whatever.
That's where the battle is.
That's right. That reincarnation, and actually that is a pagan term. That's not, it would be called metapsychosis or Gilgal. In the Jewish term, it's called Gilgal, which means cycle. And I just want to say this. It was the early.
Wow, go figure! I got that word right.
I know. That's why when you said it, the early church, this is one of the foundational doctrines of the early church, was reincarnation. It was taken out of the church. It was banned as a dogma in about the 6th century by Justinian and Theodora. They were Roman emperors, and there was a lot of there's a lot of theological battles going on. There's a lot of play for power and control and everything. But that was thrown out of the quote unquote the legitimate dogma, and it became a heresy, and you could get killed for it, and many people were, and there was a lot of fighting. Early church fathers like Origen, Basildus, St. Gregory all believed in reincarnation, taught it. It is in the scriptures. Once you see it, you'll start seeing it everywhere, I'll tell you. And it is, the Essenes believed in it, the Pharisees believed in it. The only group that really, didn't want to believe in it was the Sadducees, for good reason, because they didn't want to have, they knew how wicked they were. Probably a lot of them didn't want to have to go back. But it is an established doctrine. Now, what to just say in a nutshell, like you said, we come from the light. It teaches that the pre-existence of souls, they come from the Father, and there is a cycle of birth and death, and it is called Gilgal. And it's a cycle. And this runs on the sense of the Mazzaroth, which we know is the cycle of the zodiac in the heavens. All right. There is, and when you understand the heavens, everything is integrated. So the highest system, let's say from the Father, as a soul comes down, I mean, you can almost figure it's getting, I won't say trapped, but it's going through this cycle down, and it can cycle up. And our souls, according to the, and it's big in the Kabbalah, because this is an understanding. And it really, in my opinion, the justice of Elohim is much more, his justice is really spread out over a much longer period of time. They'll say you can get 6 to 7 lifetimes to get it right. I mean, Yahweh does not want anyone to perish. And this is when you get into the understanding of hell. It's not what we think it is. I mean, all these different things play into it. But reincarnation as a cycle and the transmitigation of souls is, in my opinion, 100% biblical, and I can give you some examples.
I want to hear it.
Well, the biggest one, obviously, is one we all know, is John the Baptist, right? Okay, so you
perfect example.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's right there. Yeshua, and when Yeshua explains, he said, "For those who have ears to hear." I mean, right there. Not everybody's gonna, but John the Baptist, he said was the Elijah that came in his first incarnation, and that there will be another Elijah. And we are talking, when you talk about, your body is just your vessel. I mean, you guys should know this from an animated point of view, an avatar. You can read and you just take on a body, vessel. That's not the important part. The important part is the essence, the program, the soul, the thing that fills that body, right? So, and we will have another Elijah at the end. That's very clearly like one of the witnesses. So, but this is so we are, and this is what you can say, a lot of people, that whole concept of deja vu, or it is something when you get born, you go into what is called soul sleep. It is something, your memory is wiped clear, basically, so that you can live your life and just deal with your issues. And if you can overcome and, climb and purify yourself and do, and progress your soul, that's great. If you, with the deck you're dealt, so to speak, if you make bad choices and you descend down, hell is a lot of times is levels of purification that your soul will go. I mean, people don't understand how the mercy of Elohim, he's working overtime to get everybody.
Well, we know from the extra canonical scriptures, definitely in Enoch, there's tunnels, chambers. They are slanted, they are going down, but there are places where souls are kept, until the blood has been redeemed from certain things. There's certain things that have been put in place. We do know that when Yahushua was hung up on the tree, he went down and broke the gates and freed. So everybody pre him went to I guess in the extra canonical scriptures, I remember it being a dark place when Adam was there, without light, without love. But I don't remember the fire or any of that stuff really being interjected as much, except Enoch did see all through all of time, wrote all of the books, was given all of the knowledge, right? But so if you want to jump in from there, I just wanted to interject that.
Well, Jason, you turn.
Yeah, I just want to. So this is a hugely interesting topic to me, and this really, as you were speaking, I was thinking to myself, I think this might be the nugget that we were looking for, or because Ronnie and I have contemplated reincarnation, And we've done the studies, and you've brought up a number of the topics that we've contemplated already. And I have a feeling you have more. And you also know that we've called ourselves the two witnesses, and that Ronnie is like the Moses, and I'm like the Elijah. And so you're saying all this, and we've been saying what we've been saying. And I feel like we're at a time period now where we need to get down to the crux of the matter and get things figured out, and really just hash it out. What is going on here? Because what you're saying to me sounds true, sounds right.
Well, for me, it hits home because I was not supposed to be born. My mother, had a bunch of stuff that she went through. The doctor said no, and then I was born 3 months early, so I was supposed to die. Moses was supposed to be killed. My entire life I had that one experience where I was transfigured, like glowing, when I was reading certain part of the law being given to Moses. And as well, I've always felt a reincarnation feeling. When I was really young, I could remember the sky, and I've had these supernatural experiences. And then when I learned of such higher truths, Liz, like, so when Jason taught me basically that we weren't on this spinning ball earth, we were in some sort of a higher level spiritual realm. We called it simulation, for lack of a better word. And finding the true name of the creator, understanding that we're not the body, and then the spiritual battle that we've been in against the straight up Satanists. We've been searching through every single book of the ever scripture ever written, all of the sages, all of that. Now, we haven't quite understood everything that you're bringing to the table, but I definitely have been looking into it and following along. And I do think that there are keys in the Kabbalah that might, maybe if we could just allow the Father's will to allow that level of power. Now, I believe there is a congregation. Okay, there has to be somebody that stands up and says, I am that job. I will fulfill that role. And then there is somebody under that person, and somebody under that person, and somebody under that person. But I believe that we are all together fulfilling these prophecies. I don't feel personally that I'm any more special than any other creation. I feel that the choices that we make, the knowledge that we seek, are seeking, are loving, are asking. Jason and I are constantly asking ourselves, why aren't more people coming to the same conclusions? Because we have triple, quadruple. Everybody in the truth movement has such a hard time with the Kabbalah, but yet I'm willing to say, there's a good amount of truth that's hidden in there. And I feel that the Lord tells me that Yahweh says that you need to speak with Liz and figure these things out. Now, I'm not saying that Yahweh appeared to me and said, you are this, but I have a feeling of a scripture or something that's been imprinted on my spirit. I can't articulate it any better. It feels like an imprint, like something is washed through me like a photocopy, and I can't get rid of it. And I feel that we are, as a group, really supposed to reach these levels and destroy Hasatan, Azazel, all the what. Just
yes. Well, just let me answer just really quick. I think that what's going on is the revelation 144,000. And I've noticed, I remember when you guys started saying that about a year, it was really about a year ago, was it longer? February.
Probably about a year.
About a year, right? February. It was really funny because I have to tell you, there was a little prophecy going around that when Billy Graham died, there was something going to be released in the earth. And lo and behold, it's really, but
it probably was fulfilled, Liz.
Did die. And there was, see, the thing is, I believe we are all part of the 144,000 at the end of the age. See, this is, and I look at nothing more than like the SEALs or the crack troops. I mean, people don't understand the chaos, the battle we are going into, the final conflagration between, the sons of light and the sons of darkness. And both sides are going to the battle of Armageddon. This is not for the level of warfare that's going to go on, and especially it's going to be interdimensional. I mean, that just goes without saying. It is going to be interdimensional. He has been preparing people. And if you go into Gilgal, or the concept of, I believe I'm part of the 144. The soul has gone through numerous lives to get to this point. I mean, it isn't like we.
So
in
wait,
one sense,
Gilgal
we earned it.
isn't the amount of Gilgal? Isn't that where Joshua, the deliverer that brought them out of Egypt into the promised land, didn't he go back to that? Isn't that where the crucifixion was? Golgotha?
No, that was Golgotha.
Okay, Golgotha and Gilgal.
Gilgal is the Hebrew word for cycle. It talks about cycle. So I believe our souls.
Well, but that's what Joshua was doing. He was going into war. He was going back to that place, and he was doing cycles. So
well, a lot of see, this is why in the Kabbalah, you can understand, it deals a lot with souls and the level of souls and what is really going on. And like even so, I mean, we even know this, like just Yeshua. I mean, if I like to say put a little space incarnation, all right? We know Mashiach has 3. Well, see, and it gets really deep, and I don't want to. Many incarnations, all right?
No, I think Ronnie and I have actually.
We're there with you.
Yeah, we've looked at all that, and it's.
Now, personally,
we believe it. Shem.
Right? I think you guys being the 2 witnesses, I've said the 2. Personally, I just have to say, I'm not going to put an impromptu, because see, I don't think these guys are really. First of all, they didn't die, so to me they are a little. I think they are going to come down or appear on the earth. I don't think that they're going to come through the birth canal because they have already been born. They have ascended. They're going to come in a way, and then they will have to die the death of men. So that. There's a couple of scriptural things. Plus, these are the incarnated souls of well, whoever it's going to be. We don't have to argue about the different. I mean, if it's Elijah and Enoch, Elijah and Moshe, whatever.
No, Elijah and Moses. That's what we were talking about. And
a lot of people think Enoch. I mean, I wouldn't rule Enoch out, but
Do you see them as spirits just like hovering around in the air?
No, they will. See, this is the point. When you understand too, shape-shifting with angels, even Yeshua, these guys have already been changed into higher dimensional beings, right? So they're already changed, and they have the ability from there, like Yeshua after his resurrection, to come down and incarnate in the flesh.
What types of things? What types of things do you think they're going to do?
What is that?
What do you think they're going to do?
Well, okay. One thing that's going to be restored is, and this is why I go to the keys of the soul, is prophecy. One thing that has not been around for is prophecy. The prophet's prophecy. I'm not talking about a word of knowledge or a word of wisdom, somebody getting something a little supernatural. We're talking about the level of prophecy and that understanding. I think these are interdimensional beings that are going to come back, and they are going to leave the 144,000, because the point is it's a hierarchy. All right. So everything, even like Michael the archangel, and there are angels under him. Everything in Yeshua's kingdom, it's not a democracy at all. He's the king. He's got his governors and his satraps, whatever you want to call them, and then under them and under them and under them. So where we
the hierarchy.
So
my next question would be:
you guys are going to be right under the Enoch, Elijah. I don't know, but
the thing that I believe they're going to do is they're going to rightfully put.
Stick with me in the 144. I don't know.
They're going Liz, you're putting yourself exactly where you need to be. You have nothing to. This is the thing. It happens. So, in my opinion, they're going to restore the Creator's name, right? So that's one thing. Check. So if the 2 witnesses are going to come back, when they go to do that, they're going to be like, "Oh, Ronnie and Jason actually restored."
Has to be restored.
And then let's see another one. Let's go through the next check. Are they gonna read the extra canonical apocrypha? Okay, if they're gonna do that, then Ronnie and Jason
have been reading it from the beginning. A Kabbalist. I mean,
that's another check for the 2 witnesses, Liz. Let's go through another one. Are they going to teach people that they're not the physical body and that they're a check? Ronnie and Jason have been teaching
I don't want to go there because
how are the 2 witnesses going to claim to be the witnesses if they've got to point to me and Jason? I'm just asking. I'm asking from a humble point of view.
You will have a divine encounter. You will be. Let me put it this way. This is what happens to a prophet when they get commissioned. They get called up. You will be in the divine council, closed door sessions in the high heavens with Yahweh, with the holy Hayat, the heavenly creatures, the living, and you will get your marching orders. And when you come out of that,
Hallelujah.
believe me, nothing, you'll be like a freight train and nothing will stop it. And you will have your mission and your marching orders.
But me and Jason are already
said that hasn't
like
happened.
freight chains. We've been fighting against
you're not listening.
Mystery Babylon.
You're not listening.
We actually destroyed.
It's not a role that you pick. You say, oh, when Isaiah said here, there's a wrong, bad translation. All right. He was already there in the secret council. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It is a role that from before the foundations of the world, but you don't pick it. Yahweh picks us. So yeah, but I don't know. To me,
Ronnie and I, we.
But you're not Hebrews. You're not Jew. You don't have enough.
It's not a requirement.
It's not
a requirement.
It absolutely is. The whole
No, we are all sons of Abraham.
They will reunite
and
the two
descendants of Noah.
No, you're not listening to me, Ronnie. You're the Gentile understanding of most Christians is
Yahushua said he could raise a descendant of Abraham from a stone. How much easier it is for him to just raise up two Gentiles.
It's out of context, okay?
Because
No,
that's in context.
Yes, but you're just the
it's the Jews that say they are Jews that are really the synagogue of Satan. It's the ones who do the work. Like you've done the work. That makes you. See, it's those that just say I'm a Jew are not. It's a spiritual thing in my opinion.
Spiritual Jews. I'm done with people being anti-Semitic and anti-rabbinic and ragging on me. You know, it's always a remnant. How many Christians are there out there that say they're Christians and are basically worthless to the kingdom? I mean, seriously, all right? The same thing with
do you identify as a Christian?
I'm a post-Christian, truly, is what it's coming down to. And I don't think we have a word yet.
What does that mean?
The post-Christianity is a huge move. That's what we would probably be. That's what a lot of scholars are quote unquote labeling us is post-Christianity. Okay. We have moved past it, but into what? Okay.
How do you move past Christianity?
Because Christianity is not, Jason, this is the point. Christianity is not what Yeshua came to. He didn't come to start a new religion. He came to the lost sheep. We are coming to a place of reunification with the whole house.
The Creator, he came to finish, to bring the new covenant. Yes, he did.
No, it is. It's a renewed covenant. People don't understand the history. The northern kingdom, who Ephraimites, and when I say Ephraimite, the northern kingdom, 10 tribes at the time, you got to know your history. 10 tribes were kicked off of the land in about 600 BC, and the Assyrians overran them and took them captive and took them off the land. That is called the first dispersion. That is that was the divorce. When Yahweh talks about there was a divorce, he divorced the northern kingdom, divorced them, sent them to the nation, said, go be Goyim. You want to act like Goyim, go live with the Goyim, go be Goyim. And basically he just, for a couple hundred years, he just didn't, until Yeshua came. Yeshua is Messiah ben Joseph. See, these are all things that people got to understand.
Well, yeah, Yahushua made it quite clear that he was Yahweh. They asked him, just tell us who you are. And he said, they show us the Father, show us the Father. And he said, I've been with you all this time, yet you still don't know. See, this is another thing. If the two witnesses are going to come back, they're going to have to restore the fact that the Creator the Word was with God, and John 1:1. And the Word was God, and the Word came and tabernacled among flesh with us. And they put him to death.
These guys, and this is where I'm sorry, but the level, understanding these things in the Hebrew, I'm telling you, Hebrew is the language of creation. If you don't understand the scriptures from the Hebrew, how the word Elohim, like I said, not being a Christian is nowhere in the Bible. That's not a biblical word. All right. That's a label slapped on us by,
sure, like the name Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, whatever. Okay. We were divorced, part of the nations. This is the whole point.
Yeah,
When Yeshua came, the door to the Gentiles was open again. He made a way. His life and death and everything. He died a Jewish law.
But you don't believe he was God. You don't believe he was the Father, full embodied. Forget that.
He had to die according to Jewish law. For someone to remarry someone, you can't do divorce. You've got the person to die. So Yeshua had to die on his resurrection
to graft in the Gentiles. That was right.
Remarry us, all right? And that was not a new covenant per se. Actually, in the Hebrew, the word is more renewed covenant. We were brought back into covenant. There's always been one covenant.
Okay,
right?
okay, that makes sense.
We were brought back in, all right? So we are just now the lost sheep brought back in with our other brothers, Judah, all right? So 12 tribes, all Israel. The whole job of the witnesses is to be the two leaders to basically marshal the troops from 144,000, so to speak, from 12,000, so to speak, from every tribe, to marshal themselves to be ready for the reunification and for this final showdown. And Messiah ben David's going to come, and man, this thing is going to.
Yeah, that's all true, but there's actually a very, very good chance that none of those that the original covenant was with, any of those Jews will be a part of it.
We just talked about reincarnation. I'm telling you, there's a remnant in every generation.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Of course, our ancestors, I've done my study, I know I had a scene and Jewish and I mean, Levite. I mean, I know that I have strains within my bloodline. These people were very faithful remnant believers.
But
okay,
the spiritual is what matters, though, because if the circumcision really mattered, it wouldn't have.
Bodies,
we would have been brought forth from the woman circumcised.
4 levels of scripture, meaning you cannot count.
I'm taking it right to the top one, Liz.
You
can't. I just
did. Bodies get born in every generation. Souls get put into bodies in every generation. We just discussed the concept of reincarnation, of Gilgal, and it's very deep, and there's a lot of more information to it. I'll give you just another one back on the Levitical marriage, the concept. You ever heard of this in the Old Testament? Where, and this is one of the things that the scribe brought to Yeshua, like, whose wife will she be? All right. So the brother dies before they've had children. And according to Jewish law, another brother in the family has to marry her and raise up seed so that the brother's seed can go forward. Okay. Then you got to ask yourself, well, why? I mean, that's a little culturally, that's a little bizarre, right?
To me, that sounds like scripture's being brought back.
Well, what's going on is the soul, that brother had and this is the other thing, this is what it talks about roots and things. That brother had a soul life and seed. I mean, there's a reason why there's so much sperm and egg here. You're carrying generations of generations of generations. That seed had to keep going. A soul of Israel has every right to keep going. And this is what a lot of the laws were about. So if the soul dies in war, or if that soul dies, that guy doesn't get a chance, or he dies prematurely in an accident, the oxen run him over or something. There are provisions in the Torah where he is seed. This was the whole point with Boaz and Ruth, so that the seed of that can keep going forward in every generation. We are a conglomerate. Our DNA is us and our ancestors. And if we had a lot of weird ancestors, we got some weird DNA in us, but whatever.
Well, the tares were to be left till the end. It had to be an equal playing field. Yeah, that's how the creator works.
Yeah, and you don't think Satan reincarnates souls? Oh my God, he's the king of reincarnating souls.
I watch people possessed daily.
Yeah, and he has Antichrist. There will be a final Antichrist. Oh my gosh.
Could be Jared Kushner, right? What do you think of Jared Kushner, Liz?
I bet you it's Pythagoras coming back.
Pythagoras could have embodied that similar spirit as well. Yep. How about Solomon? Solomon, he brought the Amazonian trans woman into the palace. So, it was funny when you brought up the concubine thing. Jason and this is another reason why I feel that I've been selected for this job, because I have given up women. I've pledged chastity long time ago with
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No stumbling blocks in my way, and totally understood that, like, whoa, that wasn't even a question. So the covenant being written on people's hearts, I do feel like you, Jason, myself, I have a few other people that I can count on. These people are actually doing these things, and we are reaching the higher sod understandings. Or you said sud.
Well, there's tons of people out there, but about being virgins, this is a word again. One of the levels of meaning of virgin is a person who is, espoused to one way. It's not necessarily, it would mean celibate in the highest levels. And again, when you get into interdimensional warfare, and this is why the Essenes, a lot of them were celibate. A lot of the early church aesthetics were celibate. A lot of this understanding of deep spirit, because number one, you are in, you know, and that's why Paul says, look, it'd be a lot easier if you didn't get married and have all those distractions if you want to be, you know, one of
Go
those.
figure.
You're very corruptible if you have a partner that you're answering to.
Well,
you have to
especially
serve
if they are
her.
not as committed as you. Now, but the flip side is there are many holy marriages. The flip side is
Yes, amen.
many-
Praise the
there are
Lord. There
many
has to be.
you're called, but the virgins there, not only are they celibate, in other words, they do not live like Babel. They are not fornicators, they're not adulterers, they don't lie with men, women with women, or men with men. It means they're sexually pure, and they are espoused to Yahweh. They're not distracted. They don't have idols or gods. They are totally focused on that. That's
Yahweh. That's it. Yahweh. That's all I do. All I think about. I just
There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of them.
Derek is here. He is another Berean who has been doing an excellent job. Jason, you could let him in if you want. I think we're at 10:20, but we still got 40 more minutes to talk here. We're gonna have to have you on again, Liz. I think I'm definitely going to have to read the Zohar. I'm going to have to, because I believe it holds the keys to the simulation, to the realm. I do believe that there's more power to be gleaned. I think that you did a great job tonight so far. It's a really tough place. My question is, the Lord Yahweh keeps putting these things in my heart, and I'm kicking against the pricks. Like, sorry, Jason. I'm like, all this 2 witness stuff. And I'm like, he just keeps time and time again, Liz. He just keeps putting it in my face.
Whatever. I don't want to,
I'm just sharing with you. Do you think this is this is not what I had imagined or chose for my life? This is just something that has happened. And I just want to thank you for being patient and always voicing your opinion. And I guess we'll introduce Derek, and Jason, you can talk, and I'll mute for a while.
All right. And then I would like to read something from the Zohar with some keys and how it all works at some point, but I'd love to meet Derek.
Yeah. Hello, Derek. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. We got out of the dentist office just in the nick of time. We're in there for like 6 hours. I was starting to think that maybe I wasn't going to be able to make the show tonight. So stoked to be here. Yeah.
So do you have anything on the Kabbalah topic?
To be dead honest with you, I have never studied the Kabbalah at all. I had a little stint as I would say anti-Semite, but that means against all Arabic ethnicities, and that's not the case. I was poisoned by the scam artist Eric Dubé. So for a while there, I was not a big supporter of the Jews, and it wasn't until I discovered you and Ronnie that I realized that Eric Dubé is kind of a scumbag and leading people astray pretty bad. And the Bible commands us to love and support the nation of Israel, and it says that whoever turns against them is going to be judged heavily. So I do know that I want to be counted in that 144,000.
Yeah, well, we know that it's going to be truth seekers, that nation of Israel. It's not going to be a geopolitical group of people. It's going to be people that care about the truth. And those are the ones that are going to be saved. And the ones that support satanic lies, they're bound for destruction. And Liz was talking about the multiple different levels and all that kind of stuff. And so we're just sort of picking her brain tonight. And Ronnie was saying that you've got some great footage and stuff to share. So maybe while we have Liz still, if you want to share a little bit more about that, Liz.
Well, I have this kind of quote from the Zohar. I thought I would just read something.
Okay.
And first of all, it just let me say it's Kabbalah. See, I always say that there's many different kinds of Kabbalah. And this is the one point I wanted to say. The Jews, there's always been a remnant that has kept the truth in all generations. I mean, this is the word says this, right? And we know.
But are they at the top of a pyramid where they've been keeping it secret from everybody else, or has this been openly accessible to everyone all the time?
No, when I say secret, okay, this is the point. It talks about the secret councils of Elohim. When I say secret, you understand the war that we're in, the Jews, it's secret from the Goyim, you don't want to get it in the wrong hands. I guess what we don't really understand is much more in the ancient.
But the Goyim's the Gentiles like us, right?
Yes. I mean, in the old, not, okay, but people don't understand the cultures when Israel was in the land and her surrounding enemies, the nations, like the Hittites and I guess, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like secret like today, like a secret society that is doing evil ritualistic things. The point is there is understanding that needs to be preserved within the house of Israel for the elect. All right. People don't understand this. We are, this is what
I do understand it, but I'm directly opposed to it.
Well, but see, because you're thinking of something else. You're not really thinking what I'm trying to explain. But either way, let me just say this. The church, when Babylon, according to history, and about the 10th century, when the Muslims were kind of really sweeping through, I think it was the Seleucid dynasties, and they all the Jews were having to flee from Babylon. There was a huge population. Even Peter went to Babylon, it says, and preached. But they had to leave the whole Mideast a lot in the 12th century, 10, 11, and 12. They moved into southern Mediterranean countries like Italy and Spain and France. And they brought with them a lot of their writings. I guess when I'm saying secret, I'm saying it is the rabbis, the deeper teachers. I guess what the point is, there are people who possess knowledge because they have studied forever. This is something we have to understand. A lot of the things of Elohim are really deep, and you just can't learn them in kindergarten or, even now. I mean, I just feel like such a baby.
But aren't they kept guarded at certain levels? And what you're describing right there, where they're not given to, you use the terms like initiates, like you have to get initiated to a certain degree.
That's what I'm trying to say, the occultist. So anyway, so when the Jews moved into southern Italy, especially, this is what started the Renaissance. This is what ended because they brought with them their understanding. Some of these,
but the Renaissance is the worst thing that's happened in human society.
Well, I don't. Jason,
the Renaissance is 500 years ago. That's when the Vatican, the Jesuits, all that kind of stuff.
With such a broad brush.
So many people have gone to hell from that.
Every generation, and there are good guys and bad guys. And the Renaissance brought back learning and knowledge and the ability to have clean sewers again, and how to do engineering, and how to kind of make your culture, it's not all bad. I don't want to
not all bad, but they brought in heliocentrism, they brought in the homosexuality.
Some of them there are always sinners in every generation. I don't know why you have to paint everyone like
they're the ones that are in control. They're the ones that society promotes as being the heroes of history.
Not always.
Now
that the thing that sometimes, how does it in Genesis 3:15 it says that sometimes you'll be the head and sometimes they'll be the heel, or I forget how the verse goes. Something I can't remember, but basically it's a verse that says, sometimes you'll be up and sometimes they'll be up. Listen, our country there was very many righteous people who founded America. All right. And I have ancestors.
It's not a competition though. It's Yahweh's.
It's people do what they're called to do. We're trying to keep the light on in our generation. All right.
See, I think you might have a few things that, we're not stuck on the same type of issues. Like we don't think that it has to be fulfilled in like the same way that they missed God when he came as Yahushai. Right. They were like, no, you're not Ben David. You're not
the incarnation of Messiah ben Joseph. You don't understand. Messiah ben Joseph is a scriptural incarnation of Joseph. He's the story of Joseph, who, when he left, he became a Gentile. I mean, he was living with the Egyptians, but he rose to the top. He blessed the whole nation.
That was foreshadowing, right?
This is foreshadowing the role of Yeshua in these last 2,000 years, what his role would do. Okay. Messiah ben David. These are archetypes. He is coming. David, the king who just finally put down all the enemies of Israel, and they had a peaceable kingdom for what this is Joshua. This is the point. but the point I just want to make is they brought with them the knowledge and learning that they had, and it transformed culture in a good way, in a lot of good ways. And this ended the Dark Ages. All right. The point is the church, they tried to bring this into the church. They tried to tell, look at a lot of Christian theologians who were talking to the Jews, and they were realizing they were trying to bring it into like the church.
I think they
were dished. They were totally shut out.
The Kabbalists have schemed up Big Bang, infinite universe, godless, the most abominable deception of all time has been born through.
But Ronnie, there are Jewish Kabbalists, and then there are worldly hermetic.
The ones that are in the power, that know how to wield it. Yes, they're the ones that created the paradigm. So basically, even if you question somebody now about who controls reality, or Jason and me were going over a video today, it pointed it out perfectly. Basically, Jason, you were going to ask Liz this question. Do you remember that point of the video? Maybe you could share it, because it truly is manifested, and even your understanding, Liz, you've been imprinted by this deception that Jason's calling out. We call it the Great Deception because it is the Kabbalist. It's their atomism, their worldview, their earthly understanding.
How do you know you've never read
sewer?
The you have never read the text that I am talking about. I am trying to tell you.
Well, I'm listening to you, but
two streams out there. We know this biblically. There's always bitter water that flows, and there's always pure streams. People have to have discernment. All right. You cannot paint with a broad brush and say everybody. All right.
Can I get your response to this video? So Ronnie had said that you were going to be coming on tonight, and I was looking forward to it. And I know that we're going to be talking about Kabbalism. And so today in my subscription feed, there was a video that popped up that said the dynamics of Kabbalistic Jewish taboo. And so this guy, when I was listening to the video, this was like new to me today, this morning. And so he is acting like an authority on Kabbalism, and he's just like laying it down real. Well, let's watch the video together. I'll run it a little fast, like 1.5 speed, and I think we only need to go about halfway through the video. But I'll pause it at about the halfway point, because there's a point that he makes that is a question that I wanted to ask you. So just take us maybe like 6 minutes or so. But this should be fun. I think this is some great stuff.
It's best to get it all out.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the dynamics of the Kabbalistic Jewish taboo? What does that mean? In truth, it's a psycho-spiritual experience that encapsulates our entire macro and micro socio-political, economic, day-to-day experience. All of our past history aggregates in this nexus point of the current moment. In the current moment, everything we've ever experienced manifests, and we react from whatever stimulus in the external environment. And this is the whole point that you can read about in the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. This is why they took over the education system. This is why they own everything on the digital Jewish universe, on the TV, on the internet, politics. And they have, puppets and fiefs and ostensible magnates, like in the Gilded Era, or really the post-Civil War from 1865 to about 1920. As C. Wright Mills goes over, capitalism is essentially the monopolization of the industrialization process, which occurred in the 19th century. Oh, but the mud flood. No, that was a Reconstruction period. Either way, it was a monopolization period from about post-Civil War. The Civil War in the abolitionist movement, all of this was funded by the Jews as well. FYI. And so, not to digress too much, but essentially it's an aggregation of everything we've ever experienced in this present moment, the dynamics of the Kabbalistic Jewish taboo. And the monopolization of everything in the material 3D universe.
I just want this one to be played a little bit slower, that last section, just for Liz to make sure. So this is what they've done, wielding their power. This is what we're pointing out to you that's being brought forth. Go ahead, Jake.
Go on.
the Kabbalistic Jewish taboo. And the monopolization of everything in the material 3D universe, materialism, just like the Jew Karl Marx said. They reduce everything down to
that would
materialism,
atomism
even down
and all that. Material world that's taught through academia.
This is what we're talking about.
dialectics from Hegel and ancient Greece, Greek philosophy and everything essentially has been reduced down to materialistic endeavor. And it makes sense because it's the most exoteric thing you can think of. Really, I mean, the very material experience that life is. Everything is physical. Money is a representation, manifestation of this materialistic principle because it gives you the requisites of the material survival necessitous things that you are required to do in order to survive, like eat, drink, and so forth, have a house. And if they keep you at such a low level of necessitous means of being impoverished, indigent, then you can never expand your mind into a higher realm of understanding. You're kept in your career, your job, your money-making, revenue endeavors, and so forth. And this is a part of the Kabbalistic Jewish taboo. This is why you can talk about history and people just glaze over. This is the culmination of the current moment of all their past experiences. They went to school for, 15, 16 years? Say 12 years, a senior, you're in 12th grade, right? And you don't know anything. And then you go to college, and they're lucky if they can even perform a job after they graduate college that doesn't require a couple years training to do well. But they've already been going to school 15, 16 years. This is dynamics of the Jewish Kabbalistic taboo. And so when you bring up the Jews in general, you don't have to be calling them out. Like, you're not saying annihilate all the Jews. Don't get rid of the fifth column. Don't expel them from your country. Just talk about casually, overt, lucid, just clear, overt, lucid Jewish domination in the world. You don't think the flat earth is a part of this? Who do you think's the controllers now? The Jews are. That's so evidently, demonstrably clear. And we have the heliocentric model being propounded and continued in their reign. You don't think they're a part of it? Some researcher, I mean, I've read loads of connection points on this. Babylonian, Egyptian, and so forth, occultism. That's what Kabbalism is. That's what the whole world is predicated on. That's the Kabbalistic Jewish taboo. And part of the aggregation of and culmination of the current moment is your heliocentric brainwashing. For nothing else than to just give you an inverted view of your cosmology and reality. Okay, they're behind it, even just at that basic level. Because they're the ones who gave it to you. They control all the academic system. They took that over in the 20th century. If not before, the century of emancipation after Napoleon started going through Europe, emancipating the Jews. They were calling him essentially the Messiah. And you can read about that. And so, when you talk about the Jews, just casually, just like what I'm doing here, this is just casual. Shouldn't be a revolutionary thing. You should be able to talk about who your rulers are. People have this culmination of all of their past experience that manifests physically in a materialist sense through kind of this tension in their body, right? And psychologically they kind of freeze up and they want to change the topic. Or they go into these programmed default positions from their education system, which is a Prussian 19th century factory-style school system. John Taylor Gatto goes over that. right? It's full of aperiodical negative reinforcement schedules like the bells, which is stimulus response. And so all of this is the culmination of the Jewish taboo. All of it is to basically create a Philistine that doesn't know anything real. The flat earth is an inversion of reality. It prevents you from seeing clearly, lucidly, and understanding who your rulers are, understanding that together we can overthrow the rulers. That's the biggest secret, is that it's very finite and fragile.
So
yeah, I've had enough of that.
yeah, so this guy understands Kabbalism.
No, he doesn't. Doesn't have a clue. Did he quote anything? Did he read anything from the Zohar? Did he say, look, I'll document what I'm saying? Did he anything? He just ran his mouth off. I've never heard such a Jew hater in my life.
Jew hater?
Jew hater.
Do you understand that it's the Jews that are responsible for the heliocentric model? Everything that he said here was perfectly dead on true.
Brush, why don't you? This is the point, Jason.
Yes.
I agree with what he's saying. Go ahead, Derek.
Thank you. To say that he's a Jew hater is a very, very broad brush with your paintbrush there. I didn't hear one anti-Jew remark out of his mouth. In fact, what he did was enunciate himself clearly and encourage people to just bring up casual discussion without getting triggered, elevating emotions, or yelling, which is kind of what we're hearing right now, is somebody getting triggered just by mere discussion of so-called facts. The truth fears no investigation.
I know all of his facts. He is calling the Jews the quote unquote the Luciferian overlords, the 3%ers. All right,
the synagogue of Satan would be a better term for you.
Now, people in this
that's the one I use.
There
Liz.
are two kingdoms that are operating at all times in all of reality, all the time. And
Levites and Judah.
What?
Levites and Judah.
No, there is the kingdom of darkness. There is the demonic occult world and the people and the angels and the interdimensional beings that align with that. And then there is the kingdom of light. And both of the kingdoms are operating together in this one reality we have. I don't know how people can't.
But so you don't
confused all the time.
But you don't understand who's behind the heliocentric model and
Ronnie, the heliocentric model is not the only problem with the world today.
Okay,
right?
then we have Hollywood, we have the school systems that are indoctrination systems that don't teach you anything.
Yeah,
they really don't.
But that is not necessary. You cannot lay that at the
feet
of
yeah, but we can document it. So there's so many things that
you cannot document it in the
I still stand for the spiritual Israel, and I will never blaspheme them. But when it comes to those that say they are Jews, those that, in my opinion, are those that who are seeking the truth, who are sharing the truth, who are standing up against the satanic agenda.
Plenty of them. And how about all those Christians who say they're Christians and are not? I mean,
Oh, yes. We are the first ones to call them out. If you haven't been watching our channel.
There's a demonic kingdom that operates. All right?
Yes, the synagogue of Satan.
We all work in the same dimension. And besides, he's talking about the earth.
There's APAC, the ADL. Liz, you wonder why you're not getting as much. I think you have a great channel. I really do. To throw a compliment to you, the production level has been amazing. You've got really good music. You've got a great way that you teach with you bring it into like writing boards and stuff like that. So like, I'm not saying that you're not on the right path, but there are another set of truths that are running alongside you. And, we're just trying to bring a different.
Tony, Ronnie, this is what I'm trying to say. And this is the point. We all have our areas of expertise. So I don't try to pretend to be an expert in areas that I am not, haven't researched.
Yeah, but it's very important what paradigm you view your reality from. It chooses every choice you make.
Okay. But my point is the language of the Bible is there's a demonic kingdom and there are the sons of darkness or the sons of light. Those are biblical terms. I like to deal more with let's keep it in biblical terms. We know that there are people in every group, the tares, who are not sincere. I mean, this is the point. Who not only are not sincere, they might be worldly, but they're also demonically charged. I mean, we know there are people who work for Lucifer who are in that camp. And
Yeah, most people.
Well,
broad and spacious,
super
is
broad
the
and
road that goes off.
Yes, all right.
Just
Yeah,
not-
So we know that
the problem
but
the problem I come back to is this whole heliocentrism. That's where I'm getting stuck right now, because I am seeing the Kabbalists as the ones that promote it.
that's not true, Ron. But this is why I get upset, because that's not true. If you read in the Zohar, number one, I will tell you across the board, this issue, I know you think you're so, even the greatest sages, they don't all agree. This information is so deep, it's very difficult. Now, I personally, I do believe that the earth is stationary, but I believe the heavens move. To me, that's what the texts say. I'm not a heliocentric, I'm a geocentrist in the sense that.
Are you on a ball?
No, I'm not on a ball. The earth is flat, it's stationary, it doesn't move, it is a dimension. It isn't flat in this sense, it is a dimension.
That's a huge gate you just passed. Great answer. That was awesome. You're not under attack. I just want to point that out. We're all friends. We're all Bereans here.
And what he's talking about, the Kabbalah is the science of Kabbalah is what is finally going to bring us all together, because they understand the heavens, the quantum level of things. We haven't even talked about, people want to just, all right, I guess what I see, people are very confused about occultic, demonic understandings. He talked about the learned protocols of Zion. That is not a Kabbalistic Jewish writing. The keys of Solomon, a lot of the books of magic, those are writings that are handed down from the line of Cain. Enoch, there were two sons. They both had an Enoch son, right? You got the righteous Enoch. This is my issue with Gary Wayne. You got a righteous Enoch, but you also have an Enoch, the first son of Cain. All right.
How does this relate?
Because both houses, in other words, there is information that both sides have, and you can't confuse the two, so to speak. All right. So
but I know for certain that the Kabbalists are the ones that promote heliocentrism.
You say that now. Where do you see that in the Zohar? Give me a quote. Show it to me show me the verse. Give me the history.
Let's scroll back through the chat. There was somebody in the chat here. This was early on. Yeah, so flat Earth data too. The Kabbalah teaches about antipodes. It also teaches about the singularity. It teaches about quantum physics and quantum mechanics. The Zohar explains the singular expulsion. It's very similar to the Big Bang, which in turn Einstein studied the Kabbalah along with George Lumitri. Well, it didn't seem to think so, considering that not Newton, Isaac, Copernicus all study the Kabbalah. And so I started questioning them. I said, so you're saying that Newton, Einstein, Copernicus were all Kabbalists? And he came back with, when you're familiar with the book of Zohar and you're familiar with the Living Kabbalah website, I'm sorry, there's not much else you need to know. Yeah, I'm saying that there were written historical facts that show that Newton, Copernicus, Einstein all researched the Kabbalah. The Big Bang singular explosion is the exact same teaching as the book of Zohar. So I asked for links and he sent me Kabbalah.com. So it seems like all these statements, these heliocentrists, are verifiably Kabbalists, that they personally identified as Kabbalists.
Say a heliocentric. See, Taco Bra had, in my opinion, and this was all the ancients understood. Again, the Earth is stationary. The Earth is
yeah, that's right. Tycho Brahe.
Earth is the world of physicality. When they're talking about the Earth biblically, they're talking about the world of physicality. All right. When they're talking about the heavens, they're talking about interdimensional, other dimensional places. All right.
Well, no, that's not what 7 billion people believe today because of the indoctrination system. That's what we're trying to teach you.
It's not my fault, but I'm just
no.
But in the Kabbalah, the Kabbalah is very clear that the earth is a stationary, it is the world of Asiya, it is the world of matter, the world of physicality.
See, I think they hid.
Then why would they teach that it's spinning? Pythagoras was a Kabbalist.
No, Pythagoras was, first of all, he was not a Jewish, he was a Greek. Right? Yes, he took some knowledge. See, to be a Kabbalist, Newton was means they read the writings. I don't think you guys understand. I mean, there's over, I mean, you took, like I said, there's 14 books right now in print. Daniel Matt has done a series, a redaction of the Zohar, a translation in English, the Prixit edition, if somebody wants to read it, and they should. One book, I think there's 12 volumes, and actually there's 14. And it would probably take somebody 10 years, all right? And you got somebody like Newton who studied a lot of these writings. There's a lot of information. Brilliant minds, many brilliant minds have
but he came up with the stupid idea the earth was moving.
The earth, no, the heavens move. He got the heavens are moving. We know that, who was the guy? Copernicus. Yeah, it was probably a Jesuit. Took all the math and the knowledge of Tycho Brahe and went with it and perverted it. I mean, that's pretty much history.
Yeah, they killed him. That's what they did do.
Him.
But
okay, well, we're in a war. I mean, but all I'm trying to say, what's happening?
So kill him? Kill him if he tells the truth? Is that how it works?
No, I'm saying the war has casualties. Obviously, they took him out, right? The point is, there is knowledge stream that is pure, that is holy, that is righteous. And Jewish mysticism has this. There is much information that the other side has taken. You don't think they read the holy books too? Some of these Luciferians, Aleister Crowley probably knew the Bible better than most Christians, all right? I mean, these people are not stupid, all right? When you get into the concept of esoteric knowledge, they read all of the knowledge, the Egyptians and the Babylonians, yeah, and they read the Keys of Solomon, they read the Protocols of Zion, and they'll dabble in the Jewish Kabbalah, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. See, this is why I'm trying to tell people are painting with two. They don't understand. There's another holy Kabbalah out there, all right, that the Jews have held on to. It came into the church in the 12th century. They rejected it. Who do you think picked it up? The occultists, the secret society, all those that came out of it. Those were all streams that had taken some of this Jewish Kabbalah, but they mix it, they profane it, they're synergists. They take a little bit of everything, all right?
We know.
Okay, so all I'm just saying, I don't mean to get excited. I just do. I get excited. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I must be Jewish. We all must be Jewish because that is a sign of being Jewish, being very, they say get a bunch of rabbis in a room and it gets very, heated. But,
we're not supposed to call anybody rabbis. And you know what's funny, Liz? All those people that you mentioned, I can tell you one thing they didn't know is that Yahushua was the Father, the Godhead, all three in one. He was everything in flesh.
The tree of life is okay. Anyways, I'd like to
hallelujah. They don't know that.
Okay. I will tell you what the original understanding of the Christian Trinity, what they're really understanding when they say that. All right.
The Trinitarian is also a satanic deception as well.
From the Vatican.
Study out the names of Elohim, 10 names. There's a decade. This is the tree of life. There is, but you have.
This is Pythagoreanism. I know where you're going already. I did a video on it.
He took it from the Jews.
Yeah, he did. He probably did. They're still good in it.
Go get a copy of the Zohar and start to read it, and then maybe you'll begin to see.
Yeah, because it might be the understandings of the reality of the simulation, and they've just taken it and said, "Here, it's a spinning ball."
It's a comic, and really, all Kabbalah is.
There's no God. There was a big bang. Everything was created from nothing,
and everybody be gay.
What is the difference?
And they're all gay too. That's another thing I don't understand. What is there?
How do you speak when Yah spoke? Let there be. You think that was some little puff of wind or something? That was just sort of that was the biggest reverber. The world is still reeling.
Sure.
It's still expanding from that speech of the fathers.
We didn't deny that.
Okay,
no, it's all going to burn too. It's all going to be made new.
All right. Now, there's something I want to read something because I just want to change the subject. All right. Okay. Let me read something from the Zohar and the commentary because all the Zohar is commentary on it's not made up. It's just commentary, really. It's midrash on the text. So this is from Zohar Shemot number 60, all right? And the Song of Songs in the Bible, if you ever read it, is probably one of the most encrypted books out there. I mean, you know, everybody, what the heck? It's a love song, but it's highly encrypted. All right, so it says, the verses say, come with me from Lebanon, my bride. May you come with me from Lebanon. Journey down from the summit of Amana, from the summit of Senir and Hermon, from the dens of lions, from the mountains of leopards. Okay. Now, and then it goes on and it will tell you the code word. So what dens of lions, mountains of leopards are, these are code words. So then it will say the dens of lions, the mountains of leopards is the aspect of idol worshipers, all right, that inflict pain and hard work on the Israelites, as it says in Exodus 1:14, and they make their lives bitter with hard work.
That's the globe earth, and you got to work 9 to 5 right there. Boom.
Exactly. These are our taskmasters. So when the Bible is using the leopards, beasts, especially wild beasts, are usually very harsh demonic forces. All right.
Jeranism, Richie from Boston.
All right.
Geo.
Now it goes on to say that Lebanon is another name for the Holy Temple. There are many, like Jerusalem, there are over 70 epitaphs, which is other words used for the city of Jerusalem. All right. So Lebanon, and the same with the temple. Oh my gosh. The
and the trees. The cedars
so
of Lebanon.
Is another name for the Holy Temple. It is called so because, as the sages explain, the root word aleph bet nun, or the word white, is to tell us that the Holy Temple purifies, it whitens us from our sins. All right. Which in the Old Testament, that was the whole process of the offerings. The bride is Shekinah, and the bride is analogous to the Ruach, or the spirit. Come with me from Lebanon, all right? So it's saying the initials in Hebrew, and then it goes into the Hebrew, Aleph, Mem, Tav, which is for truth, Emred, that is the aspects of Torah. From the summit of Senir and Hermon is the aspect of Mount Sinai of Torah. So Torah is coming from the mountains of Senir and the mountains of Hermon, and is the dens of lions and the mountains of leopards are aspects or demonic forces that reject the Torah in that side. So in other words, it's the whole point is to explain how the forces, because we don't war against people, we're warring against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness, against psychological warfare. You know, our brain, they say that's why the battle is in the mind, and how these forces operate, and how, you know, so everything that the guy was saying, Jason, in my opinion, is really explaining, you said the psyops, how the Luciferians understand to use, you call it dark magic, call it psychological warfare, whatever you want to call it just harnessing demonic forces, you know, to keep us, you know, down and out of the game, so to speak. So, but that is not, I'll just make the last point, that is not what our holy sages, our prophets were, you know, they were trying to warn us and teach us and tell us and
I know
information for us. And in the Zohar, the Holy Zohar, is that what it is? It is a holy transmission of powerful information for us.
I'm gonna stay learning it.
Yeah, that see, that's a good point there. So you do agree with him on that it's being used in order to control and indoctrinate and take people away from Yahweh Shai.
Not the Zohar, not the Kabbalah. You understand? When he's taking occult powers, people who are magicians, people who are wizards, people, you know, witches, warlike, these people use occult powers to do what he said. The Protocols of Zion is an occult book. It is a Luciferian occult book. It is something you're going to find in the shelf of a rabbi. Or I'm sorry if that word offends you, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't use that word.
All right, well, whatever. You know, I don't, the sage, I don't have one in my library, okay? I'm saying people have to understand the different knowledge streams and not mix them up per se. But the flip side, okay, that's all I'm saying. So the things he's talking about, he is talking about people who are working for the dark side, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, the people that promote heliocentrism and all that kind of stuff.
being gay, transsexual.
Absolutely. Well, you wanted to get into some of the new age. I think you mentioned that at the very beginning. Did you say Jason about questions?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can go into that. So hopefully it's not about atomism though.
Yeah.
But
no quantum stuff. That's
Jason,
actually...
you were able to reach a higher state of nirvana through meditation alone, through nothing, right? A non-duality state. So you've dabbled in the new age, and I've followed another book that I read, Celestine Prophecies, and it was similar to what you did, but I was more energized with the animals and the greenery and growing things. I didn't use any witchcraft, but so there's new things in the new age that might be somewhat true, and I wanted to know if there was any Kabbalah kind of links to that.
Yeah, the one thing that I picked up was the duality as a hoax. So all my spiritual learnings, contemplations, and stuff like that, there was a couple teachers that taught non-duality, and I got it. I finally, it's a hard concept to see that duality is a hoax, and that people that promote duality are promoting a non-reality. It doesn't have an existence to it. It's not verifiable. It's just a made up, and it's one of those satanic foundations that are super low, super root level. Like if you think about it from a programming basis, this isn't where the program's running. This is like way deep in the operating system duality. So once I realized duality was a hoax, through contemplation, I was able to come to the absolute certainty that we're in some sort of simulation / realm. Because I could tell real clearly when I was focused on the absolute moment of now that everything's manifesting as a result of that which it is. Everything's programmed to be that which it is, do that which it's supposed to do, and all that's happening. And what we are as an observer watching all this, we get to make choices. We're always being presented with choices. Even if we don't want to make choices, we have to make choices. And as we make those choices, everything progresses and compounds on top of each other. That's what the guy in this video that we just watched was saying, that, you know, we're really the product, the result of all these choices. So that is like a co-opted new agey type thing, you know, be in the moment of now and all that kind of stuff. What you hold in mind tends to manifest. But I'm curious from the Kabbalah standpoint, how you see it, Liz.
Well, can you define duality or dualism to me? Because I mean, just to make sure I understand what you're saying. I mean,
well, duality, it's a hoax. So how would you support that duality exists?
Well, what to you? What is duality? I need a definition. You know,
it requires the opposites, right? Something is the opposite of the other.
Well, you say good or bad, right?
Well,
would be one that people go to.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. There is a duality in the sense of there's, you know, you have night and day, you have male and female, you have.
But those aren't dualities.
That's what I was asking you. To me, you know, biblically, duality means that there are opposites in the sense, you know, polarities. You have night and you have day. You have good.
But those aren't opposites.
Well, whether that's to me, what that to me is how I'm defining duality biblically. So I'm saying if that's
but it's not. It's
do I need to know that?
Yeah, it's just made up on a satanic, made up, fantastical thing. It doesn't have a reality to it. I mean, if I slow you down, what you're trying to do is support that there's opposites, and opposites don't exist. They're made up. Give me an example of an give me an example of an opposite.
Well, the way it's used biblically, in the sense, like I said, you have night or you have day, you have light.
But they're not opposites.
Well,
what is darkness?
They're gradients. They're gradients of an absolute.
In a basic level of, if you were to classify things, you know, that's why you have the color spectrum. All right, so you would have
gradient.
Light,
that's a gradient.
And then you have a gradient.
So gradient would be how at the top, and then all the hierarchies and realms below. The gradient would go all the way down to nothing, right?
Well, I was just talking in color, but I mean,
I was talking in reality.
There is a sense to me. The Bible is very clear that there is a dualism, a duality.
But the duality is a satanic hoax.
Well, it's in the Bible, so are you telling me the Bible?
No, we're all sinners, right?
No,
that's not duality.
It's okay. I mean, I don't want to get hung. This is why semantics is important to understand.
Mm-hmm.
There is a sense that there's polarity, like light has no fellowship with darkness. There is, when it's used in the sense of, I'm a child of the light, I have no business, cohabitating with darkness. So, when light should not have fellowship.
But you have to look, no, but that's an important point. Look deeper into that scripture right there, because can darkness exist in light?
Well, actually, darkness preceded the light. So you have to understand these words.
If there's light, there's not darkness. See, it's not a duality.
Well, Jason, you have to understand something. The way the Bible is structured, like I said, going back to parts, there are many levels of meaning for different words. And a lot of them are used symbolically or parabolically to explain dimensions and realms that we can't possibly see. So we got to use language,
We know.
So light and dark, how do you explain that? It's like, you're a child.
That's what I'm doing.
Darkness. Okay. So in that sense, that's what it means by, and the Bible's very clear that there is a duality. At the same time, there is
we haven't gotten
kingdoms exist at the same time with each other. We're all in the duality of the sense that the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness are both functioning down here. All right. And that's a duality. I don't know how else you explain it. There's two things.
The heavens and the earth. There's no duality there.
Another way you could, a better word might be the word binary. All right. Where you have two programs running at the same time.
I just want to be clear, because duality is this Freemasonic, satanic, Kabbalistic type doctrine.
The Bible was written before any of these guys came on the scene. I'm sorry.
The Bible isn't a dualistic story.
The Bible is written on levels that try to use words as symbols to explain realities in dimensions that we cannot possibly, physically.
Well, no, that's not true. Why would the creator make something that he would never explain? That's no.
When's the last time you were
seek
in heaven? In the throne room, literally. I'm saying there are heavens. There's 10 heavens. There's dimensions.
Well, we can only share with you what the Father shares with us, and the fact that you've learned what you've learned, that's fine. But we've been explaining that there's been this great mysticism that's been pulled over people's eyes, and it's generally coming back to this dualistic, non-dual. You have the good and the bad, but really, all that we have is a group of choices that we've made. There's no
duality really needs to be super exposed.
Why? I don't understand, because to me it's just a semantical word to explain that there are different realities.
That's a totally different definition.
You don't. Sorry, go ahead. You don't understand how the Freemasons and all these secret societies.
I don't care about the Freemasons. I mean,
we do. You're supposed to know about your enemy.
Well, I understand that, and I understand that
But they're
kingdom of darkness, and they are death. They have an end game. I mean, I understand all that, but what I'm trying to say is,
it's what is it called? The deep freeze, right? Is that the Kabbalah too, where everything just moves so far apart that?
What does New Age and dualism and Kabbalah have to do with each other? I'm just wondering. Let's go back to the beginning of you wanted to ask about New Age kind of concepts. Are they biblical, or was that sort of where you were going?
Yeah.
So, other than what other New Age concept per se?
What's that?
Well, give me another. I mean, I don't understand, because Ronnie, Kabbalistically, you guys understand there are different dimensions. When you meditate and you really free your mind from the level of materiality, and you are able to enter into other states of consciousness. All right. It is basically the principle.
Is that Kabbalistic?
Well, meditation is an ancient art that I think everyone in the ancient world shared. The Jews, I won't say they cornered the market on meditation. It is a aesthetic practice. Christians meditate. the great mystics of the church.
It's true.
So I mean,
I wish I was doing it all the time.
yeah, when he went out into the 40, when you fast for 40 days out in the wilderness, believe me,
Yeah.
you're gonna enter deep states of meditation. But but I forgot where that was all going.
Yeah, well, maybe there are no good connections to New Ageism and the Kabbalah. We're just curious because they seem to be related.
Well, this is the point, is that my opinion, what's going on right now, my opinion is that the Hasatan is repackaging all of the deeper mystical understandings that have been in the Remez and Sod level to a generation that is totally secular. This is ancient mysticism, and people don't know it. Did I say that right? In other words, he is repackaging everything, calling it New Age, and trying to get people to practice.
Yeah, that we're all a part of the one, the universe, and the creator had to separate himself from himself so that he could experience things, and that's what the New Age pretty much teaches.
Well, the New Age is really, and also they don't, their concept of they worship the creation and not the creator.
And so does the Flat Earth movement. They the Christian Flat Earth movement, Liz, they think the Flat Earth can save people. They're going around saying that it's a salvation thing, right?
Right. Yes. But in terms of what I wanted to say is a lot of the understanding that people are picking up today in Hinduism and Buddhism and in New Age and a lot of these things is there's nothing new under the sun. These are ancient. This is actually Enochian understanding of how the universe operates, the laws, the metaphysical laws that work for saint or sinner alike. Take the concept of reaping and sowing, the principle of cause and effect. I mean, that's about as biblical as you can get.
Well, no, cause and effect is actually another satanic non-reality, just like dualism.
Yeah, that's a problem, because then we'd have to go back to the cave, the very first sin, if we were going to blame the cause.
Cause and effect is reaping and sowing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
that's totally different things. Reaping and sowing is doing the work and being rewarded. Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. It's the same thing as reaping and sowing. It's the same concept.
I could break it down with you and show you that in order for you to accept the notion of cause and effect, you would have to accept it for each and every thing that's happened over the entirety of all time, that you cannot isolate one thing from it and say that's the cause. I can prove it to you. I mean, I know that nobody can win that argument.
Well, all right, but I'm trying to say in terms of biblically and Kabbalistically, from a Jewish perspective and a Christian, blessings and curses is just the same way of saying cause and effect. Now, I don't know if you're, have this Luciferian understanding out there, but to say that cause and effect, blessings and curses, reaping and sowing, it's all the same kind of concept. I don't have.
I agree.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit.
Right. So that's, but the New Agers have that understanding. You give good karma. I mean, karma. That's where do you think these people get this idea?
So the Satanists say that they can come back in another life and, maybe be sacrificed and that's not Kabbalah, right?
No, you're trying to put all the dark occult.
I'm just asking you the questions, not.
No, but this is what I'm trying to say. And this isn't you guys. Hey, listen, I don't want to mention channels or anything. Kabbalah, there's such a huge fight against it. I know this because it's his last place. I mean, there's going to be no place left to hide after this. But see, I'm understanding it in different ways too.
So
yeah, but there is. I keep trying. There's dark occult knowledge that is in the from the sons of Enoch, from Cain. That whole realm that includes the knowledge of the Watcher Angels and all of that kind of stuff. That is not the same thing as Jewish mysticism, aka the redacted understanding. There is overlap in the sense that we both.
You're talking about sorcery and divination, but go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. I'm just curious, Liz. When I do a Google search for Kabbalah, and it gives me these images with the all-seeing eye and the two pillars with the Kabbalah over the top, and all this kind of stuff right here, all-seeing eye and this, is that what we're supposed to take? And look at the options here. We've got sacred geometry, Freemasonry, chakra.
I think that these people people made this up. Jason, they are not the authors of this information. This is Yah's creation. He made it. The God of this world wants to make everybody think that it's his, and he'll teach you all these little tricks, bells and whistles on how to manipulate and do it. Okay, our job is to search and, is to go in, rescue the truth out of the darkness and bring it into the light, all right, and give it to all the peoples so that they can be, set the captives free, all right? These are symbols. I understand everything now in these charts, all right? There's nothing really highly occultic, or there's occultic information, meaning hidden. You have to understand what the symbols mean. But there's nothing, that the tree of life is probably one of the oldest. It's an Enochian symbol, and it is
Enoch, or the other, there's
no, when I speak of Enoch, I'm always going from the stream from the son of Methuselah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. I mean, I know it's very confusing.
Because here there's the tabs of occult, alchemy, tarot, Zohar, zodiac, and then the other thing I wanted to show you is what if we go? What if we look at Kabbalists? Is this is Madonna a good symbol for what a Kabbalist is?
No, you talk about somebody profaning and distracting and perverting, making money, this is not, there's nothing new under the sun. Charlatans and, shamans are always around on the scene. Okay. But a lot of this stuff, Ronnie and Jason, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. People who want to say that the Star of David is Freemason and demonic. No, that's wrong. That is one of the most ancient symbols. It can be proven from the text. And this is what I'm trying, when you understand the tree of life, when you understand Yav-He, Vav-He, and you understand what Vav represents, and the knowledge that our prophets and the people who wrote our text understood, all right? The two triangles that go together, this is, there is a world below called the world of Asya, our world of materiality. And there is a world above, in the sense of what they're saying, the world of the heavens. It's in the heavens and the earth. How many times does our text tell us Yah created the heavens and the earth? All right. They're different dimensions. The earth is a whole different ball game than the heavens.
I wouldn't call it a ball, though.
Well, what? Bad word. Sorry.
I know it's your indoctrination, sister. That's all.
It's not. I'm talking about a ball game, like in terms of the fact that it's a whole different animal. All right.
So Plato is credited with being a Kabbalist, huh?
Plato was a student of the Jewish sages. That's in the history books. All right. This is history. Pythagoras, Copernicus, a lot of these people studied the Jewish writings. All right. And they got a lot of information. Hey, Newton discovered calculus from.
No, he made it up and he ripped it off from somebody else.
He didn't make it up. This is ancient knowledge that
No, he ripped it off from somebody else. He stole credit all the time. He was such a scoundrel.
This is why we really need this restoration, because there's just too much
information. Just like Tycho Brahe was murdered. And
the restoration is taking place. Like, we're letting people know.
No, Jason,
guys like Newton ripped off other people and occulted.
He's right,
occulted somebody else's knowledge.
No,
they took it and they did this. They perverted it.
No, he held on to it for 40 years.
Liz, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Everybody's just gonna have to pick their sources, whatever. All right. I know.
Well, there's only one truth, though.
Yes. All right. And it is you will find the truth redacted the best in the writings of the house of Judah. All right. That is where the writings have been redacted and kept the best. All right. If people want to go out into Hinduism, they want to go into the New Age, they want to go in and get glimpses of the truth, because there is truth everywhere. That's what it says. Fine. But if they want to acknowledge the God of Israel and they want to get to the truth on its deepest and purest level, they will eventually come to the writings of the house of Judah. The Old Testament and the New Testament is redacted writings of Jewish Christians. All right. Because Yeshua was a Jewish rabbi. And then, but Jason, see, this is what I'm saying. You are working.
So this is Kabbalism, right?
No.
No.
What's no? All All right, no, all right. And you guys are baiting me, and this is kind of getting a little irritating because I've been trying to explain to you, and
Liz,
it's
you've been
not
the only
working.
one who's been talking. How are we baiting you? Every
Well,
time Jason
jump
tries
in.
to explain something, you interrupt him and you steamroll over everybody. I've been curious to hear what Ronnie and Jason have to say about what you're bringing to the table, but they get 3 words in and you steamroll them.
I do. I thank you, Derek. That is a good admonition.
I want to hear what Derek has to say.
On this topic?
Any topic.
Well,
I'll sit back and take a break.
Yeah. Well, this topic, I can tell you, both of you overstand me. So I'm going to withdraw my tiny dog from this fight because you both have a vast amount of knowledge over me. I've never read the Kabbalah. I've never even so much as looked into it. As I said, I was unfortunately, even with some Jewish heritage, I was discriminant of the Jews over the last few years. I didn't have control of my mind. I can admit that. I'm not proud of it, but we all have to wake up at some point. But what I find interesting is the way that society has us all so programmed that we can't talk about anything without everybody having to get their point out before the other person. And it's just, we're programmed to be triggered and go in on the other person without hearing their thought to its fruition. And a lot of times we find out after 15, 20 minutes of arguing in vain that we're on the same team. We just didn't let the other person finish their thought. I've been dealing with that quite a bit. I've been trying to spread truth online, and everybody just comes in and tries to overstand you, and they want to throw in a bunch of big words as quickly as possible, hoping that like you won't even bother trying to rebuttal whatever their argument might have been, because they put in so much so quickly. And I think it's all just a programming tactic, because no one's getting anywhere like that.
Well, it's copy and paste shill trolls.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that the Holy Spirit guides us into all truth. And I think the higher levels of understanding and the fact that there are some things that are held within Kabbalicism, I don't even like adding the schisms. There are spiritual truths to be had there. And this is a heated discussion, and we weren't trying to corner you, Liz. It's just unfortunate that the truth is the truth is the truth. And I hope to learn more, I'm going to continue to study all things that have any ties to Israel. And I'll continue to never discriminate someone by their skin, only by the spirit and by the fruits of their truth. And by that, I don't think that all truth feels good. It doesn't sound good, but I do feel that there's a restoration happening, and the fulfillment of the prophecies of it's happening all over the place. It's so happening right now. And I think there's a huge divide with the new third temple and all this other stuff with the Moshiach that they think is coming or is here now. This topic is going to continue. I really appreciate Liz coming on, and maybe other people, like I said, might glean something from you that me and Jason don't teach, and we'll continue to spread the truth that we know, right? It's a hard game.
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize to you, brothers. I grew up in a family where we would my dad was great in the sense he would draw his kids out to talk about hot topics, and we would just be all talking. And I just grew up in a very feisty family where we.
Oh, it's okay. You.
Get a little excited, and I do. I know, and it is my worst personality fault. If my husband was here, he probably would have pulled the mic away from me.
Oh no, it's okay. If Jason would have interrupted you, if it got too bad, he's the first one.
Derek, you're right, and it's true. We do agree more. We agree way more than we disagree. I mean, my gosh, come on.
Yes.
You clearly have a wealth of knowledge, and I will be subscribing to your channel because I've just woken up maybe a year ago, and care about all truth. So I'm very interested to hear what you have to say. I mean no disrespect by calling the situation for what it is. There's just a lot of information flying around, and I'm trying to absorb every last little morsel, and I can't pick it all up when it's coming at me from 3 angles.
Good point.
It is true.
Yeah, I think we should all listen back to
you're
this.
all of you are
The voice of reason.
I'll be going through it.
Yeah, it's a good topic. And Liz, I ask you, my second to last video, it's calling out Mystery Babylon. And I put the target right on Pythagoras' back, who he gives credit to Kabbalism, that he was indoctrinated into the mystery schools of Egypt and Babylon. And that, I guess that was called Kabbalism.
Well, that's
so I want you to watch the video.
okay.
Go through it.
I'll send the link.
It's a go through it and come to me and let me know what your issues are so that we can talk about it.
Well, all right, because if I can just say, when you say this thing, the ancients had mystery schools. We know that now, and not all, and there were many different streams. So Egypt, Babylon, but the Jews had their own, mystery schools. They're not all the same. Now, so to say you're Kabbalistic, I guess this is, to be more precise, words to be more precise, not all mystery schools are the same. And we know that there are dark mystery schools. Okay. And by its fruit, a lot of these guys, Socrates and Plato, who were Aristotle, they were also students of the Jews. You understand? The Jews were the intellectual giants of the ancient world. David, his kingdom, Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived, Enoch, literature. They say, I'll just say that the library in Alexandria, when it burned, there were over 400,000 Enochian writings. He was just the giant. So,
but Socrates and Plato and those people are really the fools, right? They're
like breathing.
Yeah, they are Greeks. They're not Jewish. They did not worship the God of Israel. See, there's a lot of, when you talk about, yes, there are Babylon, there are mystery schools, and a lot of them were dark and occultic, and they did rituals and they did dark magic. This is a fact. But on the flip side, I just want to say something, because the way the ancient world worked in its knowledge bases, not everybody got a good education, right? You had huge pockets of slavery, so mystery schools in some sense were academies for elites where great minds would just go to learn the great knowledge of the day. See,
yeah, me and Jason probably for sure. We probably would have wanted to go there too and check it out and learn it.
It's just so.
But why did they all start like counterfeiting gold and becoming gay? And what happened?
Because there is always wicked people. I guess, Luz, there's always been the tares with us, and they always infiltrate. One of the most annoying things is, this, they infiltrate the righteous camps. Oh my gosh, that was happening in the first century. That's a no-brainer. And they're wicked. You'll know them by their fruits. Even look at the Catholic Church. There are some bad apples in every group. So that's just the way it is, but it doesn't make, just because there's bad Christians doesn't make all Christians bad. So all I'm saying is, even in the mystery schools, Babylon mystery refers to, occultic Egyptian Babylon, which are civilizations that were started by Ham, which was his sons, Mitzrayim, Egypt, Nimrod over Babylon, and then you have the other one, Cush, who went down into Africa. So they are known as the carriers of a lot of the Canaanite watcher angel dark seed knowledge. This is all historical, fact. So that's a lot of what we're battling, is their infiltration, and they constantly steal, the holy righteous knowledge, and they repackage it, and they try to get people, because there's truth in it, but they try to do it in a way that gives them the worship. That's what the pagan nations do. Those gods, those watch, so it's just, I just think there's a lot of nuancy understanding in a lot of this stuff. So I don't, that's all. But Derek, it was really great. Where do you hail from?
You're muted. You're muted, Derek.
Sorry. I'm kind of from all over. Originally from where I'm living now, which is the Central Valley, California. I lived in Southern California for a large portion of my life. And then in Long Beach and Huntington Beach. And then I spent a year in Central America between Tamarindo, Costa Rica, and a little town called Sarah in Panama, which isn't on most maps. It was a little village town. Most of the homes had dirt floors. But yeah, now I'm back in the armpit of California, Central Valley, hundreds of miles from the beach. It's hot and swampy, or it's freezing cold.
It's 100 miles closer than I'll be right now, right?
Oh, but with the internet, it's like we can all reach and touch each other right now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally.
Zoom is good like that. But did you have the fires? Did you experience the fires there at all?
You know, they were actually completely surrounding my house.
Really?
I mean, within like 50 or 60 miles away, not immediately surrounding us, but to the point where at one point we had no exit route. Like all the major highways, north, south, east, and west, all around us were blocked by fires. So we were surrounded.
Wow.
And Yahweh sent the rain in the nick of time, and it brought things back down to normal. And now it's almost like they never happened.
Wow, what a year for you, man. Your last year has been crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it just doesn't stop. Now we have to go through a lawsuit because the insurance won't pick up the cost of the accident. And I got collections agents calling me off the hook. We have almost, or if not over, 100,000 in medical debt. And every insurance agent saying the other insurance agent is the one who's supposed to pay for it. And it's just, it's been a never ending battle. But through each trial, we've become exponentially stronger spiritually. Our faith has increased tenfold. This year is what gave me the courage to come out from under the rock I was hiding and start sharing truth with people. And I don't know. It's been really hard, but it's been a really great year. And I think over the next year, things are going to kind of break in our favor. And I'm thinking we're going to be blessed pretty heavily for the trials that we went through. So
I agree.
It's been a whirlwind, but all of this had to happen to lead me to the path that I'm on now. If what happened hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't be on the phone here tonight. I wouldn't be sharing pictures. I wouldn't have gone out and bought a camera. I would still just be a sideliner watching from the other end of YouTube.
Well, man, that's awesome. It's awesome. There's nothing like actually getting in and doing, and absolutely incredible.
You're on fire, man. You've been filming. You filmed the eclipse. Great shots. Lots of beautiful footage that you've been taking with your P1000. In the comments, you just exude zeal. You know, you're direct, straightforward. Bam, you throw the truth down. There's not too many people that are out there like you. We also have Elias. Did I say it right?
Elias, I think.
Elias,
right?
thank you. Like Elias, but Elias. Elias.
Alias with an E.
Alias. And we had Terry Zombie. He kind of fell out a bit, and we've got Yahweh's daughter. But Derek, you've really been, man, you've just been such a warrior in the comment sections, in the Facebook groups, and your wife Rachel, me and Jason, we prayed for you guys and your family, and I just expect good things to happen with you. It's not even a question for me. I just expect it, brother. And I'm just, every trial.
I think he knows it too. I think he knows that these tests are what's stocking up. Like when you see the test, when you acknowledge it and you know that, hey, I can get through it, and you have the faith, then the blessings do come.
You okay? You okay? Hey,
tough road.
I'm gonna let you. I gotta.
Yeah, no problem.
Hold on a second. I'm just gonna pause my video for a moment.
Okay.
And family, right? But you too, Liz. Hopefully people get something out of our call. Like we still have more to go over. We'll be definitely doing it again. We didn't talk there's so much to learn. It would be really, really smart for people to invest a little time on your channel. I put the link in. I'll put the link in again.
Oh yeah, I would. If people just really just check out a couple of my videos.
Leave a comment, right? Definitely leave a comment. Because that's what you want, just like me and Jason. You want people to ask questions and converse.
Right. Well, and what, look, I love what we do, you guys. I mean, what else are we going to do with our time except, try to please the Father by learning everything we can. This is an exciting time. I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Well, and not only that, you've got links in your videos, you've got tags, you put the description correct, you got the title right, you have what are they called, end screens. You also have links that pop up when you talk about certain topics. We call those reference points. Like, just an amazing SEO job. And like I told you before, when you put truth out there, it doesn't need 1 million views, because that would be a worldly thing. But I believe truth permeates through everybody. That's a little new agey, but I believe, like me and Jason, when we lay something down, everybody is affected by it. And I think everybody's affected by your true search and your passion for Israel and for the Jewish mysticism and the traditions. It's exuberating zeal that you bring to the table. And I hope we can all be blessed, and always asking the Holy Spirit to lead and guide us every single day. And I really thank you, though. And I'll let you guys say your finishes. So, and then I got a video to play us out. But Liz, so everybody, just tell us where to find you and go through all that.
Put my name in Liz Mcgee. It's pretty basic, Liz Mcgee, or it'll come up. And then my channel is called Prophecy for the Last Hour, and I'm starting a new series. I don't do this. I have someone now, like a producer, sort of, this gal who's come on board with me, who really is helping me to do she does all this, what you just mentioned. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm so technologically challenged.
She's doing a great job.
She's doing a fabulous. I hope you can meet her sometime, because you and her, she's doing a fabulous job, and I love her to death. So I love her. Anyways, but yeah, that's my channel. I really do believe that my thing is the keys to the kingdom, understanding how this language is pointing us into deeper understandings, the sod level. So that's kind of what I'm really all about. And I do believe in Jewish mysticism, there is a pure, clear, clean stream out there that we can really benefit tremendously from. And if anybody did want to read the Zohar, I would say go on to Google. There's what's his name? Daniel Matt, M-A-T-T, and it's called the Prixit edition. They're these yellow books. Here, I actually have one. Let me just share it really quick, because you really got to read it. Is his footnotes, the commentary. They're yellow, so they're very easy.
Okay.
And he has there's footnotes in them that really help you understand the text and kind of what you're going. Highly documented, highly footnoted and documented. So anyways, but blessing, brothers, that was great. Thank you, Jason, Ronnie. Hey, we're all the same. We still love each other. Everything's calmed down, Derek. If we were in the same room, we'd do a big group hug, right?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
But Derek, why don't you give out a plug? Are you sharing anything on social media, your channel, anything like that?
The videos have been coming a little bit slow, just because my tripod, it's really shaky. I'm looking at a different tripod, but I got to save up some money for it. What I want is probably going to run me about $700.
No, wow.
Yeah,
that's too much.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Jason, that was a funny reaction.
Well, I've been looking at tripods and new heads. In fact, do I even have the tab open right now?
Are you gonna go all Wolfie on us here? 20.
Here we go. I actually had the tab open. All right. So this is what I was looking at. I was thinking about getting, maybe getting the P1000. And so it's Monfranto. Right now I have a Monfranto.
That's what I have.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's nice. And so what I was thinking about doing is going with a geared quick release head like this, where it's got all 3 axes. It's got the same Monfranto plate on it. There's a video that comes with it. But what I was thinking is with these screws, they're micro adjustments. So instead of having like a fluid head like you would with a camera like you're filming a movie shot, I'm trying to move that. And even though I have a good fluid head, it still ends up being a little jerky. That with these adjustments that I would just give it fine little twists and be able to keep it centered in frame better than with an arm is what I was thinking. So that's like $350. $700, that's a big chunk.
Well, all right. So to be completely honest, I saw Nathan Thompson is still, I'm still friends with him on Facebook. For whatever reason, he hasn't blocked me, and he posted a picture of his tripod rig. And I've noticed that all the videos that he puts out, they're so smooth. Like there's no jumpiness. It's just perfect footage. And then the picture showed his tripod, and I'm like, oh, that's the secret. I looked up his tripod, and brand new, they run like $1,500. So it's like, okay, so of course you're gonna have perfect footage.
Yeah.
But then I think I just came to the realization that the heads for the base of the tripod are interchangeable, so I could get like a really nice head for it and not have to spend the additional $800 on the rest of the lower.
No, you
half
just the head. Yeah, and there's so many different types of heads too.
Yep.
Do
they make weights for them too? I think.
Yeah, there's counterbalance. There's all that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do rather than go out and just copy Nate and spend top dollar on the best tripod I can find. I'm gonna
do it better than him for half.
Yeah.
I think we need to bring back Flat Earth photography podcasts and go over gear and all that stuff sometime.
Yeah, there's lots of options out there, but I agree. You got to have a really good head and tripod, especially with the 1000.
Yeah, that thing's a tank, man. And when it's fully zoomed, it's legit a telescope. It's like 16 inches long. It's huge.
That's sort of why I like the geared aspect of this. But and then there's all different size, different weight setups. I think this one says. Usually they say how many pounds that they're made up. Oh, here. Supports a payload of up to 4 kilograms. So this, I don't know if this is even enough. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I think it's enough. I don't think the camera exceeds, because that's 2.2. So it'd be 9 pounds, roughly 10 pounds at 4 kilograms.
Yeah.
And the camera's not 10 pounds. So that should be sufficient.
Well, if you start researching, you'll find what's right for you.
Yeah.
Cool.
I definitely want to get a better setup, though. There's so much footage I think of all the time, and then I get out and I try to make it happen, and it's so shaky and jittery, and then it's freezing cold. Well, for a California boy, it's freezing cold. So I'm outside at night trying to film. My fingers are shaking, which causes the whole tripod to go nuts on me, and But I'm going to keep trying, and the still frame pictures, I'm going to keep them coming. And every night that I see clouds behind the moon, and every morning where I see clouds behind the sun, I'm trying to take pictures of it.
Awesome. All right. Well, any last words, anyone?
No, I'm ready for bed. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm on an Eastern time here. So it's been a blessing, brothers. Thank you. And Derek, it was great to meet you. And I will see you in the Zoom hood again.
Yes, we will do this again.
Likewise.
All right. All right. I'm signing off. Shalom, brothers. Thank you.
Shalom.
All right.
Um,